Hello, everyone.
Did it? Okay, it's working.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. God, that's bright. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Work in Progress. Uh, all right. Dude. I'm learning how to send this out. So, good morning, everybody. Sorry that we're jumping on a couple minutes late this morning. I had to use the restroom before we got started, and nobody wants me to not be using the restroom before we get started because that's gross. So I have a lot of things to talk about today. We've got some news going on. I just came back from a RTT testing out some stuff. Learned a lot, got my butt kicked. It was a lot of fun. Um, but we've also got some stuff coming on in the news. So we'll talk about news first. We'll talk about some news first. Talk about what's going on. Um, we'll let some people have some time. All right. Sending out some of the facts that I'm live today because we're kind of learning how to do this. How do we get the live stream going? Because that's the hard thing is that it's the trying to get this thing to basically show up on Instagram. Good. Hello, everybody. Waiting. Give us a little time for people to join in. Good morning, everybody. Good morning indeed. So we've got some news today. We're gonna go over some of the stuff that happened this weekend. Go over some of the news. We'll do a little list clinic if people want to post some lists. And starting out, let's talk about. Oh God, my hair's a mess. But starting out, let's talk about some of the stuff that happened in the Warhammer news for today. We got new stuff. So, Saturday orders, of course, were our classic ogres and all that stuff. Man, this is so bright. We've got some Exodites coming out next week. Oh, I'm super hyped for more Exodites. I love me some Exodites. Maybe if I turn this light on. No, it's just blinded. No, that's a little better. There we go. A little bit better light-wise. So Exodites is going to come with some orcs. It's only going to be 3 Exodites in the box, which is kind of bad. It's not like bad, but it's like I wish there was a little bit more, but that's not a problem. I'm going to move some of these screens so that I can see things better. Pop out chat. Yeah, pop out chat. So I can see y'all's chats while we're chatting about the Exodites. I'm super hyped for Exodites. I'm probably picking this box up. So it looks like it's going to have 5 elite operatives. So these guys aren't like tokens; they're going to be part of it. 2 Dracoliths. Interesting. That's going to be kind of cool though. This, I wonder if these guys are going to be attached to the unit, similarly to like the Space Wolf Scouts, right, where they had the wolf attached. So I wonder how these guys will interact in 40K. This honestly, this looks like a really fun box. Like even the fact that I want to bring basically buy Exodites so that I can make an Exodite Eldar army because elves and dinosaurs. Come on, what's better? I'm actually really excited for these Beast Snaga orcs. These guys are really cool looking. I always liked the Beast Snaga like aesthetic, but like these are really sick, and I am very interested on how this plays. So we'll definitely take a look at some of the rules that they're talking about. Looks like they're going to be starting to sell some of the combat patrol terrain as well. This is cool. Unfortunately, though, I'm still waiting for the ready painted stuff, just because that's going to be much better when it comes down to that. Sorry, had to click some buttons. So it's going to give you 15 pieces of terrain. It's not a full terrain board, but it is going to be the first time in which you're probably going to get some of these smaller terrain pieces. Like some of these ruins and some of these that aren't like some of these sizes, they just don't exist right now. I really love how they've set this up though. I think these are really cool terrain pieces. But these are the unpainted ones, and I don't think you get as many 15 pieces of terrain plus a double-sided terrain board and a set of terrain footprints. That might be enough. I don't know. I'm still waiting for the big painted box because I'm lazy and I don't want to paint that. As much as it would be cool to paint some of this terrain, like the servitors here are so cool. But no, not today. I'm good. I'll spend the $300. Kill Team Spectre Squad is coming out. I'm excited for this. This actually might be the guard kill team that I pick up just because these guys are sick. Look how cool these look. Like, look at the robot arm man and the machine gun dude. These guys are awesome. Spectre data sheets. And finally, we're getting some of the standalone kill teams outside of their boxes, which is nice. Like the Raptors coming out, needed to come out very soon for us. I can't believe that Arbites and Voidsman were not out of their own boxes yet. Same with Kroot. I was very surprised that these were all still needing to come out on their own. I'm actually surprised that they are putting out Felgor Beast Ravagers or whatever, because it doesn't seem like they are wanting to support Beastmen at all. They did get rid of Beastmen as an entire army in Sigmar, so that is definitely one of those things that I'm like, I love Beastmen. Please don't get rid of Beastmen. They're so cool. We've got the Reavers, the Assault Squads, and some of the combi weapons and some books. Wonderful. What a lovely Saturday reveal. Or Sunday reveal. And then I'm interested in some of these rules. So it's introducing a brand new faction and a new approach to Kill Team. It still probably isn't going to get me into Kill Team, but I'm really intrigued on how this game works. So your Dragon Masters don't set up in the kill zone when the game begins. Their Dracula scout the terrain until it's time for their masters to activate it. Only then do you deploy your mounted active. Okay, that's kind of cool. Almost like a deep strike mode for Kill Team, where firmly in your hands you can see your opponent's. Oh, man, that's very interesting. Must be a friendly Dracolith. Okay, so you set up the little Dracoliths, the little dogs, and then they go and scout out for you. That's really interesting. I like that. Once in the killed zone, your mounted operatives activate twice in each turning point. Interesting. So you can't spend within. So it's bigger guys, but there's less of them. So it's that more, man, the fact that they're making elves elite is super cool. That's the thing I like about Kill Team, is allows certain armies to get things like being a mounted tanky unit now, or the fact that they're scouting and fast. That's interesting. I am very intrigued on this. When you could outpace the enemy's aim, speed plus 4 up, 7 up. Interesting. Okay, I don't completely understand that because I don't play Kill Team. So you can do sprint for free. And then we've brought pivoting in. And that's where now this is what I would not want to deal with, is pivoting, because I'm super glad that in 40K we don't have to deal with pivoting anymore, because okay, all right, 45 degrees, let me get the protractor out. But no, this looks really cool. I do not understand at all any of these rules, to be honest. But that's fine, because I don't play Kill Team, so who cares? Anything you guys are interested in with that? I don't see anybody here, so that's fine. That's cool. Eldar Exodites for Kill Team is exciting. Love a good Exar. Now the actual news for this morning. So this guy, Nazdreg Urdgrub, I don't really know Orc super well. So I'm gonna be real, I don't know too much about this guy, except for he's in Meganob armor and that he's just cool. I'm super excited for that. His gun is amazing. So here's my question. I know that he's an old character. He's from the old 2nd edition. That's a crazy glow up. That looks amazing. So he just never had a miniature for so he's the Bad Moons leader, but he just only had a 2nd edition miniature. Because I was like, they're talking about this guy. I'm like, where is he from? Like, why do I know this guy? He kind of looks like the war boss in Space Marine 1, but I don't think it's the same guy. I don't think it's the same guy. But God, look at that gun. That gun's crazy. The claw is insane. I'm definitely picking this guy up. This is one of the coolest orc miniatures they've come out with. Even after they came out with just a bunch of really cool orc miniatures. Undisputed 2nd best war boss. It's okay. 2nd best is good enough. We love 2nd best. You know what? At least this was a character that we've all been, I guess, wanting. I'm not an orc player, so I'm happy for the orcs play. Well, I'm starting orcs, so I'm joining y'all now. I love this moon at the top that they've got molded. This like metal plated moon. It looks so cool. In all honesty, I feel like it could be a cool helmet topper too for stuff. So I might have to get multiples of these. That's really cool. I love his pelt. So he hasn't had a model release this century. Okay, so he's been just doing stuff and we just keep seeing him. And he just hasn't gotten a miniature in forever. That's really cool. Because, yeah, wow, look at the big difference between this one and that one. Man, now this is a Deathmire reveal. Should have been the Deathmire reveal. That's cool. So he's aligned himself first with on Piscina 4, and then later at Armageddon, he's also tangled with some Farsights. Oh, that's fun, shooting some Farsights. Okay. I'm not happy about that. God, I can't wait to buy this guy because that's crazy. So, okay. So, looks like we're getting some new datasheet changes. It looks like we're going to have an entire update on the format. But for those of you that left, man, you guys should come back because you are now missing out on some good stuff. So, it looks like he's going to have Deep Strike built in. That's cool because I guess he's Mega Armor. Yeah. So, army rules, the boss and Wah. That's new. The boss is an army rule now. Very interesting. I don't know what that means, and maybe when we go through this article, it'll talk to us more about that. But that's a new thing. The boss is new. Has anybody seen anything about this Wah? About this DeBoss rule? Anything about that? Because I haven't heard anything about this DeBoss rule. So I think that's super cool. Of course, Wah. Abilities, intimidating motivation, once per battle round per army. So you can do this 5 times. In your movement phase at the start or end of this unit's move, you can select one friendly orc unit within 6 inches of this unit. That unit is no longer battle shocked and is riled up until the start of your next turn. So we're no longer seeing the big wah, right? We're no longer seeing the wah be as strong as it was, but now you're going to be able to wah in different parts of the game and not use your once per game wah. Because like even him, you're going to be able to rile up, which because what is because what's all under. So the riled up means that they get a 5-up invuln, ranged, and they can advance and charge. So this guy can give you advance and charge. The only thing, yeah, that's really nice. That's a very, very, very nice. That's a really nice ability. So as we can see here, welcome everybody. As we can see here, there's a new rule, the boss. Don't know what that is, but you can essentially, with this new character, get yourself an extra wall every turn, because riled up is the thing that now gives you a 5-up invuln save, it gives you assault, and it gives you the ability to advance and charge. So for 5 times, you can bring that wall back. That's a lot of good stuff with that. I like that a lot. And that's really cool. We're not even talking about his weapons yet, which are insane looking. He's also got Nazdreg's know what, so his unit that he's attached to has deep strike, and they have ignores cover. It's very cool. It's the same thing that they gave the Cacophonist for Terminators. Man, that's nice. It's better on him than it is on us. So good for him. Man, he's really got a ton of really great abilities. Supreme Coming once per phase per army. So you can do this once per phase per army. Oh my God. So it's really just you get to do it in 5 times, because once per phase, it's only in the movement phase. Once per phase in the movement phase. So 5 times. But that's still great. I'm just being weird about the wording of it. So if anybody moves within 8 inches of this unit, if they're unengaged, you can move up D6, or if the unit's riled up, you can move up 5 inches. So he's got a reactive strike. He's got a reactive move built in. He's got a deep strike with ignore cover built in. He has got the ability to give himself or his other units advance and charge, shoot and charge, or shoot and advance. And the ability to unbattle shock themselves and give themselves a 5-up invuln. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff all at once. Like, that's a lot of stuff for a 7, 2-up, 5-up, 8-wound dude. That's interesting. I wonder if this is where they're going to go with all epic characters, where they're just going to level them up, all of them, make them super expensive point cost, but then still just like give him abilities that are worth all that, because he's gonna be expensive. If he's not expensive, that's crazy, because these are 3 of like some of the best abilities in the game. Giving your unit deep strike, being able to unbattle shock yourself in the movement phase, start of the end of the unit's move, so you can even like get to a unit that's 5 inches away, 11 inches away, move 5, get the 6-inch range, and then still do it because it's at the beginning or end of your turn. And then being riled up, that's really nice. Let's talk about the weapons though. So it looks like, so he's got some hazardous on there. That's fun. So his Gatler has got hazardous. 6 shot, 4-up, 9, -2, 3 damage. That's a crazy stat profile, because that's 1 more AP and 2 more attacks than a Defiler's gun. So lore-wise, that's a crazy shooter. That's a crazy gun. I love that. Shooter, lethal hits, so he's got all of these as well. So he's got the shooter as well. So he's got the Gatla, the shooter, and then the flamer. Okay, I can see it. I can see them all too, which is cool. Lethal hits against non-monster vehicle. So interesting. This is the same datasheet style as they did for shooters in general. I think the only thing that it has different from that for the shooter might be rapid fire 2. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to look back. But this does confirm that that's multiple shooters with lethal hits and non-monster vehicles. So I really wonder if that means that they're going back to, hey, if it is this weapon, it's going to have these keywords, right? If it's a shooter for orcs, shooters are always going to have lethal hits with non-monster vehicle, right? I wonder if that's going to be the case. Even if it's something where it might be a better version where, let's say, I don't know if they normally get 4 attacks for their shooters. I don't think they normally hit on 4s, but things like that, where it's like the extra special stuff is just going to like, hey, it's the dude holding the gun who's better at shooting it. But we see that lethal hits is kind of going across for infantry, at least infantry and mounted and beasts and swarm. Oh god, that's too many words. But we see that lethal hits is going across that. That's cool. I like that. I really hope that's something where it's like if bolters have lethal hits, right? That we see all bolters across like Chaos, Imperium, Astartes all get lethal hits on those bolters just to make the guns like, yeah, this is what the ammo does, this is what the gun does. Gives it like a little bit more of a narrative feel to like the weapons themselves, where it's like, well, why would I bring a bolter? Because a bolter does this. A bolter always does this, no matter what army you're playing. I think that's really cool because unless you have like special ammunition, you wouldn't have a special bolter unless it said so, like a master crafted one. And then we've got Scorch, Blast, Torrent. All right, look, so this is going to be the new. This is the new way that Torrent works. So everybody jumped out right as I was about to explain new Torrent. So Torrent's different now. Torrent has a confirmed amount of attacks, right? So Torrent actually is a 12-inch. It's 3 attacks, no ballistic skill, 5 up, -1/1. So just so you know, now Torrent doesn't have. It's not random attacks anymore. Torrent does have an amount of attacks. So that's going to be pretty crazy. So he looks like he's got the lower end of Torrent, where it's like, yeah, you've got all these attacks, so you're going to get a little 3 attack Torrent. But this is Torrent now. So Torrent's going to be very, very, very strong because now you don't even have to roll for the amount of attacks you get. You just get them, and then they're just better at shooting, which is cool. I think if they're going to do that with Psychic, basically, where it's unmodifying the hit roll, right? You can't modify it anymore. I think that's going to be a better way for Flamers to operate because that was a whole big thing for them, which is not being able to be within cover, right? So that -1 AP was still there. And it's just like, not that great. So I like this. You get a certain amount of attacks. It's just not as high as you might have been able to get. But that's the way that Torrent works now, basically, where you have a couple of attacks in that weapon and you don't roll D6 as much anymore. I don't think any of them are going to be random anymore, is from what they were saying. But that's cool. And unlike his combi style weapons, he can fire all 3 at once. Okay, so that's another thing that they're also saying here is unlike most combi style weapons, he can fire all 3 at once. So normally these things would have the little indicators next to them saying that it was the different firing profiles. That's cool that they did that. That's super fun. Auto pass battle shot, blah, blah, blah. Basically, he's great. Yeah, that's very evident. He's a great model. I'm very excited. Oh, he looks so great in Total War. That's really cool. So I'm really hoping that means that we're going to see for the factions that are coming out in the next couple of months and all the things like Space Marines are probably going to get a miniature that's going to be in Total War. And I love this mentality that they are doing. Developing miniatures that they're then scanning and putting in Total War is going to make that game super great when you can go and say like, hey, I love my war boss Nazdrak. I think he's so cool, but I only play Total War Warhammer 40K. Okay, well, guess what? If you played that and you enjoyed it, go buy the miniature. He exists as a miniature now. I love this. I love this because there's a couple of like Slaanesh Demon Lords in Total War 3 that I'm like, those are sick. I want that model. Doesn't exist. So this is a super cool way of doing all of that. I'm a very big fan of that. So that'll be really neat. What a cool model. What a cool miniature. Super fun. Well, that's pretty much all of the news for today, it seems. And then, as we're talking about that, we got a new Dawn of War trailer. That's super fun. Some new Necron stuff. Back on Cronus. It's nothing really that impressive for a trailer. It's the stuff that they were really kind of already showing off. But man, these images are so good. Look at this guy. Oh, these are so cool. I think that's something that Necrons, like, even with some of the Pariah Nexus stuff, like, Necrons don't get a lot of animations showing off themselves, right? Like, you got a couple little things, but we never really get something besides like in the books where it's something like this. And that just like gives that really cool necromancer vibe that they all have. Very big fan of that. Well, very cool. Very neat news. All right. Now, leaving the news. We're done with news now. Nothing else to talk about yet. So we can either do, I can talk about my time this weekend playing with Fulgrim, or we can do a list clinic. I don't have any lists, it seems, in the Discord. And I know I need to work on getting a Discord for, oh, I like this Demon Prince. A Discord for this, so we can all get everything going on. But we can talk about what was going on this weekend. So this weekend I took Fulgrim to an RTT. I took a little Fulgrim to a little RTT. Did it go well? It went okay. It wasn't the best outcomes. I got 1 out of 3 games that I won. And I won it by 100, so I'm not upset about the fact that I didn't do super well. I also will say I had some of the worst luck that I possibly could have had. It was super bad. In the first 3 games, my first round, I couldn't kill a single thing for first 2 turns. It would always come down to 1 wound. Like, I was playing Purge, I was playing Coterie. I'll pull up a list for that one, and I swear I could not kill something for like 3 turns half the time. It was super bad. Like, I was one of the first games that I played against Thousand Suns mobile with Sekitar robots. It wasn't the really bad detachment for Sekitar robots. It was the one where it's the vehicle heavy one and the healing. But oh my God, it was just so bad. Like, I charged a Wing Demon Prince into a double Sekitar robot, like only 2 of them, the smaller ones of Sekitar robots, and he couldn't kill them. Like, he couldn't physically kill the Sekitar robots. The Sekitar robots lived on 1 wound. And I brought Fulgrim because we were using the Tacoma Open, which was super fun. But Fulgrim couldn't kill 4 Sekitar robots. It was bad. It was horrible. Like, it was to the point where, like, that first turn happened and I went, okay, I've lost. There's nothing that I can do if I can't kill anything. Like, it was one of the worst. Like, those games I was just like, nah. Yeah. There was nothing that I could do. I'm not upset with how I played. A lot of it was just, that should have gone off. That just didn't go off. And it went, okay, whatever. Not that big of a deal. It is what it is. But man, it was just a little rough on that one. It was super fun, though. I tried playing Fulgrim instead of the Flawless Blade brick that I normally bring for something like this. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made for that, was just simply because they really just, like, Fulgrim has a lot of problems, right? Fulgrim in his own data sheet, he just has so many problems that, like, even when you look at the list in a good way, right, where you're like, Fulgrim can do some cool stuff. He's got mobile now. He can move through walls. Like, he can do all this. He still, with his suite, he could not kill like 2 robots. He couldn't kill 4 robots. And he's a 350 point model, and he can't kill the basic vehicle units. Like, he couldn't do it. And like I was playing against it, had a defiler, and my defiler did okay. He whiffed, of course, because he just always does. Even when he did damage, he only did like 2 or 3 damage or something like that. But what was really brutal about it was just the fact that like Fulgrim started tanking stuff, but every time he would fight, he would just be insanely disappointing. And like, it makes sense why they gave us so many rerolls with him, where they're like, hey, there's a whole detachment where he gets full hit rerolls and a full wound rerolls, because he is not, he's still just so weird. And like, nothing of his abilities feel great, in all honesty, where it's like, let's take a look at him. Like, Fulgrim as a character, this was probably where I would, like, this was the biggest replacement, was just replacing Fulgrim. Because I played with him this weekend. It was super fun to play with him. But like, even just all of these, like this D6+1 for his strike is so weak. It's just so weak. It just can't kill anything unless you get the max. And even then, the -3 is only great against things that don't have invulns, and you want to send Fulgrim into things with invulns. So it's really just that, and then also the fact that his demonic poisons are just, it's a 4-up for a D3 mortal wound. Like, it's not a great ability for a demon Primarch, especially when you're charging 350 points for him. I just was, I was very significantly unimpressed by him. And many of the people I was playing against were also insanely surprised that I was playing him. Because even Emma suggested that I don't play him, but I was like, I'll play him. Every time I'm going to try and make him work, and at some point he'll work. But just right now, it's just not something in which there's anything really significant about him that is gotten better over the addition, to the point where we just keep seeing abilities get thrown upon him. And even then they're like, yeah, it's still not enough, guys. It's just not enough to make him as, with the big base that he has. That's the really kind of the big problem, is he just can't stay safe, so that whenever he does get into the combat, if the combat doesn't happen perfectly, then he's just going to have a really hard time, right? And that's okay. It is what it is. I will say that this pledge of Unholy Fortune saved me a lot of times during that game, where I was just like, that helped a lot. So I played Thousand Suns, I played Tzeentch Demons, and then I played Blood Angels. So matchups that aren't super great for me, but not horrible. Right, the Tzeentch Demons one was hard because, of course, the 3 big birds having no negatives to their benefit of cover or anything like that, because they're psychic. But I'm gonna be completely real. Some of the force dispositions that I played didn't feel good or fair, right? Like the one game that I did win, winning it by 100. I'm gonna be very honest. I don't think that priority assets is a fair disposition right now. I don't think that they get good missions to compete with other force dispositions. Like, my opponent, who was playing Tzeentch Demons, this was the one that I got 100 points on. My mission was killing stuff. That was pretty much it. All I had to do was kill stuff and control objectives. Very, very classic purge the foe. Nothing crazy. His whole thing was that if he didn't touch the center, he didn't score at all, right? He didn't score any primary if he didn't touch the center. To the point where I ended up positioning stuff very far ahead and basically just extending myself into that middle point to where he just couldn't get past me. And I'm going to be completely real, that priority assets and purge the foe mission, I felt really bad because it just didn't feel like a fair mission to play against with purge the foe. Like, I didn't feel like he was able, like, it didn't feel like he had options to come back from the game, which didn't feel great to me, in my opinion. So that's the only thing I noticed, where I was like, the priority assets versus purge the foe mission, I don't think it's super balanced, in my opinion. And that's from the person who was playing Purge. I was playing Purge,
And I said, okay, so I just go to the middle and you can't do anything. And he was like, yeah. And it was pretty brutal. That's something in which I think GW does need to think about, especially when you're saying like, hey, you can't, it's not about controlling objectives, it's about controlling the center. Because especially in a Purge the Foe match, okay, then you stat check and you throw everything in the middle. Like, what are you gonna do? Right? Like even the last guy that I played against, the Blood Angel guy, Justin, he had 2 Vindicators for that exact reason when he was playing that, to where he's like, yeah, you go and touch the center, I'm gonna delete you. And he did, he deleted me. But like, it was one of those where even Zinch birds with no non-benefit of cover couldn't stop me from just sitting on the middle of objective and then just taking it and just being like, okay, I'm just going to deny you points the entire game. And it came down to, I think, 100 to 40, which was insane because, and then the next round, he tabled knights, where it's like, what is going on here with these force dispositions and stuff? It's just weird. I enjoy them, but I do think that there are some that are just not balanced super well. But it was fine. It was super fun. I will say, though, there was a lot of people that were playing more than just Purge for force dispositions. And I think that they did a very, very good job because I did not run into a single other Purge player. I was only playing Purge because Coterie requires you to play Purge, because I don't have any other options if I play Coterie, and I like Coterie. Coterie's fun. But I've also got some other lists that I'm planning on playing. And could also work super well. So I also brought Terminators this time. Terminators were actually super fun, and they were actually very usable in this version. I will say, though, they were kind of cool, but they didn't really do much besides just maybe helping deny scoring or to basically run up and take an objective with a 2-up, 4-up, which for a 145-point unit, I'm going to be real, I could have just brought like a Tormentor to do that, an extra Tormentor unit, and paid for something else. So personally, I think I'm going to lean into bringing a Mauler Fiend instead of bringing Terminators, because he's 15 points cheaper. He can punch into those things that I need Fulgrim to punch into. And it doesn't mean that I have to put another Defiler in, getting another big base, while I can also max out infantry, because I am a big fan of doing this infantry spam now. Because I played a couple of games as well, Friday and on this weekend, just kind of trying some other stuff out. And it seems like, in all honesty, with Emperor's Children, we're kind of leaving the coterie of the conceited, like, locked out play style. And there are some other things that are really, really interesting when it comes to the play of it. So, yeah, some interesting stuff. It was a very eye-opening and fun experience because, in all honesty, the real big problem was just I brought Fulgrim, and Fulgrim just sucks at 350 points. He just still sucks. So, like, what I would have probably done instead is brought some Flawless Blades and Lucius. Because at least the Flawless Blades and Lucius, we're not sitting there and going, all right, cool, -3 AP on 6 attacks. It's -3 AP on 24 attacks, which is a lot more helpful than his little 6 attacks. It's just the problem of he's just not super reliable. And that is what it is. He's a big demon Primarch. They haven't figured him out yet. Mobile's cool. Mobile was fun, but it was very funny because I just was like, yeah, this feels like he should have just had this at the very beginning of the game, because now he just feels good. So it's really funny that they've waited that long to give him mobile, and even when they did it, it just didn't even feel consequential. It was like, all right, cool, we can move through walls. I'm like, he should have been able to do that since the beginning. Yeah. Lucius would be a lot better of a warlord with a billion flawless blades, because one, they have more wounds when it comes down to it than Fulgrim in this list. He's got to feel no pain 5-up if I want to throw wounds on him. And on top of that as well, full reroll hits and wounds on something where he now is a critical 3. He's starting to sound more like Magnus. I like that. So this is probably what I'll end up bringing, but I don't know. I might even bring some Mercurial Host because I like Mercurial Host. Yeah, it was a really fun weekend. If you guys have not gone up and checked out not Common Grounds. Nexus Gaming Lounge up in Denton. That's probably one of in the entire like DFW North Dallas area. That's probably the best one to go up to, in all honesty, for like not a GW store, actually has space to play. Nexus Gaming Lounge in Denton, it rocks. It's killer. They've got great setups. We actually bought some terrain plates from them because they had some on sale that they made. And they actually have the little pieces of the terrain printed onto the terrain plate. So until we get the actual like new terrain pieces, we can play. You can go and buy those and play with the actual right measurements without having to worry about spending more money on terrain if you want to wait for the pre-painted terrain like I'm doing, because I don't want to paint it. If I'm going to pay for it like that, I'm going to pay for it painted. Screw it. Why not? So yeah, so this is what I'm going to probably end up bringing. It was fun. I had a good time, but at the same time, it was very much one where it was just like, meh. And it happens that way. I mean, there's like, if the funny thing is I look at this and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, in the same list that I could have brought and not brought Fulgrim, I could have brought an extra Tormentor squad, right? Had 3 infiltrating Tormentors, Flawless Blades, Noise Marines, Defiler, Magma Cutter guys throwing stuff. Like, I think that's just where Emperor's Children needs some help. Is just Fulgrim needs to get better before he's really going to get usable. And I don't think that changing his keywords is going to help him at all anymore. I think with Take to the Skies, Fulgrim was still fine with Take to the Skies. I think he just needs a damage boost. But I'm still excited. I had a great time playing 11th edition. There's definitely some things that aren't super are not super clear, because I know that we've all discussed so we had some confusions during the tournament about actual like rules stuff for when it came down to hidden and gone to ground, because there's actually some confusion with that. And so I actually kind of want to talk about that a little bit today, since we don't have any list today. So we're just going to be hanging out and talking about some rule stuff, because I think that there is something weird about the core rules when it comes to hidden, because there's a way that it's described. And I think the problem is that the way that it's described is a little bit too lax. And I think this is something they need to address at the FAQ. And that is going to be the fact that technically hidden doesn't work the way that even the diagram says that it does. So when it comes down to benefit of cover, right? Benefit of cover requires you to be within the terrain plane, right? And as we've seen with this diagram here, not this diagram, this diagram here, right? That benefit of cover is specific. And the problem is that technically, if you look at hidden in the rules, right, it says light and dense pieces of terrain, but it says within the terrain piece, not fully within the terrain piece, within the terrain piece, right? And we had some confusion on the weekend of why the wording is that way, while there's certain things that aren't legal when it comes to that. So if we see here, right, this is how we get benefit of cover. Okay. So the argument that was basically had was that because he had a unit that would have been where this wall was, right, where the letter D is. He had some screamers that were up against this wall, right? One was poking out that could be seen, but their full base was not on the terrain piece. They were touching the terrain piece, right? And so our question was, does he get hidden because he's touching the terrain piece? Well, the only thing that it says is within the terrain area. That's kind of a problem, because even the way that this diagram states is that not all the models are within a terrain area from Unit B, right? So Unit B does not have benefit of cover. But what if these guys went back 2 inches and touched the terrain piece? Would they get it? Would they get hidden? Would they get benefit of cover? So when it comes down to hidden, gone to ground, benefit of cover, right? Benefit of cover is a requirement to get hidden, right? If you don't have benefit of cover, there's no way for you to get hidden. So the reason why this is super weird is because they just don't say wholly within the terrain area. But they also don't ask you to be wholly within the terrain area for just getting benefit of cover. So the question is then, Nick, okay, well then what's within and what's not? That's the problem. Because in the past we've used within range of, right? Or within. Because in my mind, within means the unit is fully in the terrain plate, right? Because that's how we measured monsters and vehicles. Within did not count for, oh, you're partially in, right? Because that was partially in. So with benefit of cover, right? The 2 ways that you can gain benefit of cover on a unit is being within a terrain plate and being not fully visible to the attacking model, as we can see here. So which unit of these would gain gone to ground? Well, the vehicle can't get gone to ground, right? And these guys definitely have gone to ground. These guys definitely do not have gone to ground because it's unit by unit basis, not model by model. So the whole unit has to be on there, right? The problem is that he would gain benefit of cover, but he wouldn't gain hidden because he's not within the terrain point. He's touching the terrain point, which is the most confusing and dumb thing ever. And the frustrating thing is, right, that it doesn't say fully within, but if a vehicle is not fully within the terrain point, it doesn't count as being within the terrain point either. It's confusing. It's very confusing because this is not touching the terrain point, but if you were touching it, you would be touching. You would get benefit of cover because of something obscuring or not full line of sight, right? But as we can see, if I can fully see this model, that does mean that you don't get benefit of cover because you're not on the terrain plate, right? If I could see that model, but you're all on the terrain plate, you do get benefit of cover. That would be the same thing if B and C were both on the terrain plate. Let's say, so this one, B and C were shooting at each other. Both unit would get benefit of cover against each other. It's like if you're shooting in a building and everybody's got hiding behind rocks and stuff like that or debris. But these are just, they've exited the building, they've walked outside. So unless they actually change some of the wording on it, don't get confused. Hidden doesn't mean hidden doesn't allow you to touch the terrain plate and get it. You don't get it by touching the terrain plate. You get it by being within the terrain plate, right? You have to be within the terrain plate. So when you're on the edge here, you're not within the terrain plate. You're touching the terrain plate, right? You're not within it. You are touching it. So just remember that when you have some people that you're playing with, right? Because we made the argument very easy because I just charged Fulgrim into them. I said, you know what? We're not going to worry about it. Fulgrim's going to hit them with a whip and charge them. Have fun. I'm within 6 inches. You can't have it. Don't worry about it. But this is the reason why, is because you are within range of, you are not within the terrain piece. So it's confusing because within specifically means being fully within, but it's the problem of they didn't put fully within, so people get confused, right? Because A is not on the terrain point, C is not on the terrain point, and B is not on the terrain, or B is, what am I talking about? C is on the terrain point, B is on the terrain point, so they would get benefit of cover, but they wouldn't get gone to ground because there's not an obscuring piece of terrain between one of those units. They would, on the other hand, though, because there is a piece of terrain in between. Confusing. I really love benefit of cover rules because I think it's more thematic, and having it be harder to shoot makes more sense. It's even negated me at times, but like, yeah, that's something to worry about, to think about, is that benefit of cover is a little complex, and there are going to be people that are going to want to take the full advantage of the rules with that, which, you know, is fair, because technically that's not what it says, right? It doesn't say fully within, it says within. But as we can see with this diagram, the intention is that you have to be fully within the terrain piece in order for you to gain hidden, because you don't get it by just being partially in the terrain plate. You have to be fully on the terrain plate. It's kind of the same thing as when you're going up to the second floor, right? You can't have any models overhanging, right, off of that, or they technically can't go up there. So as we can see with this unit here, you can only have 3 guys up there, which is kind of about the same as I noticed with my Noise Marines, is I can maybe have 2 guys up there reliably without any overhang. And it's the same thing as that, where it's like, well, not everybody in the unit is going to gain plunging fire, but they all gain benefit of cover for being within the terrain plate, because if they weren't within the terrain plate, that they couldn't have been up there to do that. It's weird. I'm just really hoping that they do a lot more for what comes. I really hope they do a lot more for what comes, because, like, see, it says they're within the terrain area, then overcomplicating all of this. So now, does this unit get hidden because they're within the terrain area? Like, this is the problem, right? Objectives not within terrain area is not a clickable thing that I can look at, because even there, it then goes backwards and says, nope, that's technically within. And you're like, okay, so does he get benefit of cover? Because previously that wasn't considered within. That was just in range of. Because that's the thing, is they did the stupid thing of saying within for every stupid thing. And now, technically, based off rules as written, this unit technically gets hidden and benefit of cover, because that model negates this model. Isn't that insane? Like, their models negate each other. Their diagrams negate each other, because they're saying that they're not fully right. All the models in Unit C are within a terrain area, right? Fully, I can't say. Where is it? B, yeah. Not all the models are within a terrain area, so Unit B does not have benefit of cover. Okay. Now let's go down to this one. 6 of its models are within the terrain area. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean that they get it, or do they not get it? Because you've just used the same the term for the same thing. Like, come on, guys. This is, so now they're using wholly within, right? But in the past, they weren't using it. So, like, that's the thing. Like, do you get it by just touching, or do you get it by being fully within? Because that's just doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make at all any sense. It's very confusing. It's very weird. I'm not a big fan of this. This is why them not doing this is frustrating, because now they're using wholly within randomly, right? When we go up here and they don't use wholly within, are within a terrain area, so they get benefit of cover, when that should say wholly within. I love this game, guys, but oh my god. Oh my god, this is not that hard. So, like, not all the models are within, so it doesn't have it. Why not use wholly within, my guys? Oh my god. Because that's the problem, is that, as we can tell, the intention is the unit has to be fully within. Wholly within the thing. But again, they don't want to use it. Because that's the thing. Is within a dense because this also changed, by the way. This is not accurate anymore, right? Can't click it. So this isn't accurate anymore, right? Because now the errata is light terrain also counts as well for hidden, which I think they have made a massive blunder doing that without doing any checks on that, because specifically that doesn't work. That doesn't work. The whole light terrain thing, because if we then look, and I'm somebody who plays masses of infantry, so this does help me out if this is this way. This is why I'm trying to make it, this is why I'm trying to go over this stuff and talk about this, is because, in all honesty, when these things break the game, it makes it not fun for anyone, right? Like, it just doesn't make that fun for any single person to do that. And if you're basically saying that in the first part of the game, if you just have one model behind any dense terrain, which is not hard to do on these maps, it's really not hard. You just basically say for the first turn, you just can't be shot whatsoever, wherever you are, no risk to yourself whatsoever. And that just, to me, just doesn't feel right. If you're not fully in a terrain piece, I don't think you should get hidden. I think hidden should require you to do all that, but I don't do the rules. But yeah, there is a change to that where basically they said light as well, right? It's understandable because, like, having things fully within is hard, but also hidden should be something that is difficult. Like, it shouldn't be something in which every little infantry just gets it, right? It should be something where you have to. That's really weird. Even that doesn't really explain it super well. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong thing. So we couldn't even read that together. Where is it? Showing objective, moving, consolidating. Where is it? Well, I unfortunately just can't find it on here to show you guys because I am just bad at reading without going like this with these documents because they're really small. But if you do look up hidden in the core rules in the app actually has a change. So this is the thing that also very much frustrates me. So this says it's dense, right? There's only an update in the Warhammer app that says that hidden is also in light terrain as well. So I can't show you on my PC, but if y'all, I'm gonna remove the thing so that maybe y'all see this. Yep. And right in there, there's the update that contains one or more light/dense terrain features. This is not on the core rules now, and this is not on an errata that I can find. So this is where 11th edition is at. I'm not super happy, right? I'm not super happy with that because it's a random change that is a very massive change. Because if we look at some of these terrain plates, it is possible to say that you cannot be shot within 12. And if that's the case, I am going to play it that way if that's how it works fully. But I don't understand why they would do it that way, because it doesn't feel good either way, where it's just like, okay, well then why even run a bunch of shooting then? Just run a bunch of charges. Like, all that does is massively benefit melee armies, really, really unfairly. Because if you just can't shoot in the first turn, right, but then they can charge, then yeah, turn 1, turn 2 is so much more impactful. Again, and that was the whole point of some of this stuff, was so that you don't have these maps end up being these crazy, oh well, I brought this army and you brought this army, so I'm gonna win, right? Because I just can't target a single thing in your zone in the first turn. Like if we let's look at a disruption versus take and hold map. And we're not gonna do the hot dog style. Also, I hate hot dog style. Don't do the hot dog style deployment. It sucks. Yeah. So if we take a look at this map, right? Increase. Computer, increase this map by 400%. It's okay. You guys can leave the stream once I've done that. So basically, what it's saying is, as long as you have one model touching, right? Annotations. There we go. So we'll do red for the blue side. So that means that as long as you have one model touching here, there, 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 you can't be shot in the first turn. Like, are you kidding me? That makes no sense. So I could have something right here and then have one single model touching this or one single model touching this, and now the entire unit is hidden within 12 inches. Or 15 inches for that one. But if there's any obscuring, which you just get a guy down here, like you just put a model behind, like this is where I'm going. This doesn't work, right? It's very simple there's too much of this dense terrain plates, and there's ways to move models where it's one where it's like actually even better. I'm gonna load up TTS to show this off, because like it's significant. If that's the way that cover works, then right now cover is broken, because in this map I could hide my entire army outside of 12. You cannot shoot me outside of 12 unless you're shooting vehicles. What? That's not good. Like, I understand having it be in light terrain features, but like not being like there's already, you can stand behind the base plate and not get shot, right? Like there was already that. So like it removes the risk that you have for horde armies, melee armies, and things like that of like, well, why wouldn't I just stage everything at the very front? I could have things that are right here and then have one model back here, and then I get hidden for 12, even though I'm fully visible. Like it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense when it comes to any of that. I'm gonna get this loaded up so that we can kind of show this off, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Like it doesn't work. And when I mean that, I don't mean like that's not how the rules work, but the game itself doesn't work in that way. Like it breaks the minute that you try that. So we're gonna load this up. Okay. So all right. So jumping into tabletop, 1v1. Let's do a purge versus recon, because I like purge versus recon. Okay. So this is the map that it loaded us, right? So yeah, because basically we can already see which things are light and which things are dense, right? So let me load in some armies. Where is, let's open practice. Where is it? There we go. Don't be offended by the name of the list. My girlfriend came up with it, so it's fine. And then this isn't legal anymore, I don't think. unless there was points changes. I don't know. But we'll put some on the table. We'll put some Eldar on the table for that. Because it's fun. And I like Harlequins, and we're going to look at Harlequin models today. So, okay. So, basically, my point with this is put a defense back there. Put a demon prince. Let's not worry about that now. Okay. But this is what I want. This is the point that I want to make. Okay. You guys are gonna love this. This is gonna suck. So, Anyways, how was y'all's weekend? While I'm setting this up, anything fun or exciting happen for y'all over the weekends at all? Anything cool? I saw that some people from the Mansfield group were playing in a doubles. That's cool. Doubles is fun. I like doubles because then I don't have to use my whole brain, and then somebody else can use their brain as well. My brain don't work that great. Yes, these are tormentors, so I can just slap them right back over here if I wanted to. And then Terminators and Deep Strike, and blah, 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 by Terminator. Oh no. Oh no, by Terminator. Guys. Dude, put your lords out there, have some fun. Put your lords in the sun. All right, there, here comes the crap. Okay, so the tormentors or whatever else up in there, right? So my entire army is hidden in the very beginning of the game. Has gone to ground and has gone to ground. What the literal crap? There is not a single unit in my army that you can target outside of 12. Because of the way that the rules are for that one. None of my infinites can be targeted outside of 12 inches with this list or with the way that I've set up. And that is why that cannot be the way that Hidden and Gone to Ground is supposed to work, because there is no way that this gives me Hidden and Gone to Ground. This gives me on the ground because one dude is behind a dense terrain piece, right? And all these guys are on there, but they're touching. It doesn't matter, right? They're touching the terrain piece. Well, I have to move a couple guys in to make it so everybody can touch the terrain piece, but not too hard to do that, right? Boom. Everybody's touching the terrain piece. They're within the terrain piece, right? They would get hidden. That doesn't work for the game. Like Lucius being over here, right? Or maybe I have to move this Flawless Blade up to do that. But like hidden. These guys, hidden with Gone to Ground. These guys, like that would then determine hidden. This would be hidden. And I don't, this does not feel like intention, in my opinion. This does not feel like the way that it's going to be. So that's why I'm very much like, I would not be playing this way because I don't think that this is going to change. I think this is going to change very fast because technically, as we can see here, all of these units would gain hidden and Gone to Ground because all the requirement is just one model behind dense terrain, and then you're good. It doesn't make sense. Like, look at this. So these guys are all hidden. And if they're and so normally it would be 15 inches. So it would mean that no matter what, right? In order to shoot, you would have to put all of those things on my side of the board in the center on the first turn. Like that's the furthest you could be away and you can't see them. So you would have to move up at least 8 inches away to shoot these tormentors. Like that makes no sense. That makes no sense when it comes down to it, when it comes to cover. Because at that point, then melee armies are just going to have way much more of an advantage, when it makes more sense to say, like, hey, okay, put it there. But like, why you would then put something like here, right? I want to touch this objective and be behind the base plate, so I can't be shot through that. But once I get to there, put all the guys on there so that you can at least get some benefit of cover and some hidden, right? Because like, if you're telling me that I can technically do this, let's see if those are 2 inches away from each other. 2.6. There's got to be a way. If there's a will, there's a way, right? Are we ready for some dumb stuff? Because technically, this unit, touching the terrain piece, touching the terrain piece, touching the terrain piece, this unit would gain hidden for what they're doing. This is hidden. This would technically count as hidden based off of how they've described it. This is hidden. That makes no sense. This does not work. That should not be hidden. So this is why we need some rules clarifications, because this is a very bad example of where the rules are broken. This is not good, guys. This isn't good. This should not be hidden. Don't play this way. This is very cheap. Maybe do it at a tournament. Don't play your buddies this way. This sucks. Don't do this to your buddies. Don't do this. This is lame. Because technically every single thing. Oh, that's 2.1. Well, he's within 2 of that guy. He's within 2 of that guy. He's within 1.9, and he's within that guy. So we're good, because you only have to be within 2 and within 9, and they're all within 9. Like, what are we doing, guys? So that's something that I with at the tournament. Not because the guy who I was playing with wasn't great. It's just because that's how rules are written. So technically he's right. But also at the same time, he's not. Like, because there's 2 different definitions even given by the game. And that's a problem. Right? We have 2 different definitions given by the game, because there's things in the core rules that are now updated on the app that aren't updated in the core rules, even though it's a PDF that you could update. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that this is a change that's needed or necessary for them to come back? What do you guys think? It's okay. There's nobody here. It's fine. But yeah, like, that's a big problem when it comes down to the game, is because this should not be able to get you hidden. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. In my opinion, I don't think that should get you hidden, because that would fairly break the game for a lot of different, like, could you imagine Tyranid players with that? To where they're like, I just have a couple of things on here, and now my entire horde is hidden. And it's like, okay, so in the first turn, I can't do anything against your horde unless I'm a melee guy. And to me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense for the game itself, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, specifically just because of the fact that, like, you look at some of these maps and you can tell they're not built for everything to get hidden at the very beginning, right? Like, You have some stuff in here where you can hide. You can hide behind here. You can be hidden on this base plate. Like, even look, like there's plenty of room in each of these little like containers. Oh, you can't see what I'm talking about. That's probably a big but like we see in like right here, you know, like there's plenty of room for units in here, units being behind here, like a couple little units being able to get inside these little terrain pieces. I mean, getting in here and then being behind here, being back here, like this whole big gap. And you're telling me that you're going to make it so that people can be hidden in front of you? Oh, no, don't do that. Like, come on. That makes no sense, right? Over here too. Like you can have somebody on this little toe and then you're technically hidden when you already have a pocket up here. Like, that does not make sense. This is where you would put a scout unit who would then move up into that pocket. Like, that doesn't, it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense gameplay wise. If you could say, all right, I'm going to put a 5-man up here. Everyone's going to be touching this terrain plate. And I'm going to put one guy behind the wall. So now it's 12 inches. What? I mean, like, let's look at it. Even from like, if we had our farthest guy right here, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, you would have to put yourself here for shooting, which is death. Like, it's death immediately. Like, I'm a melee player and I'm looking at this and going, this is not fair. Like, this is it's not a fair thing if hidden is allowed to just be on these little side bits. In all honesty, the TO didn't agree with that as well. Like, he also, the judge I was talking to did agree with me and was like, no, they got to be within the terrain plate fully. I don't care what GW says. Like it came down to it to where we were looking for it. And even he was like, that's my interpretation, because that's what everybody's been saying online, including GW. So this is what I mean of, whoa, guys, this is weird. And where, again, like, these things are broken. I mean, look at this. Like, this unit could move up and still not get shot, no matter if they leave hidden or not, right? To where, like, this firing lane really doesn't even exist anyways. But, like, yeah, you could get a tank onto here if you were fast, or like a fast shooting unit. But now you're telling me that that firing lane doesn't matter if you can get it in the first turn. When, if we look at that, right, like, look how far you would have to get. You'd have to move through an entire base plate just to get onto that firing lane, right? Because you'd either have to do that, or you would have to move from there, right, like up into here to get any shooting. And you're still telling me that they're not eligible to be shot, even though they are an inch away from their own territory, like an inch away from the end of their own territory, which then a unit that's here moving like Emperor's Children, boom, already hits you. Like, already hits that thing that you put out there to kill maybe a little baby thing, right? It doesn't work. It's too, and I never thought I'd say this, it's too hard of a nerf to shooting. It's too hard of a shooting nerf. It's making it so, because my biggest problem with how shooting worked last edition, and there are many who will disagree with me, but I am right, shooting had less points of failure because you just didn't have to roll to see if you were eligible to shoot. You could pre-measure and you could set yourself up. This is the, okay, we're going way too far in the other direction, where I like the hidden mechanic, where if you have key units that you want to hide, you can hide those key units. Like, I normally hide Noise Marines on the center on my home objective, specifically because I want to move them up later in the game to use that shooting in case it's something where I'm getting decimated and I need to have some range, right? I just like doing that. It's how I like to play. If I was able to put all my Noise Marines up here and you couldn't shoot them within 12, that would be a serious advantage. That would be a massive advantage, right? because if you were having a tank and that was the only thing that you can really get that volume of fire off against elite units like Marines and Custodes, then you putting something up into here is a death sentence. Because what if I have a Demon Prince right here that just goes, okay, cool, thanks for the fight, and then I just keep fighting up this way, right? Like, it doesn't work, because even when you get to these really good vantage points, you're still ineligible to shoot anything that's an infantry. And that is on the other side of broken, where it's like, if you get to here in my territory to where you could potentially get charged in my turn, in turn 1, you should get to shoot something. Like, you know, now you don't even have the option to shoot until round 2 at best, especially if you go first, which is worse than having more points of failure, which gets, yes, Eva, exactly, that you hit it right on the head. That is something that puts it in the other direction of broken, where now if you're not a priority army that's doing stuff, you are going to have to overextend yourself potentially in the first turn, right? Which for melee armies, we want you to do that. But the problem is that we had ways of making that happen without having to do this, right? Like in Emperor's Children, we have Tormentors. That's our bait unit to put that out. World Eaters has Goremongers. Anything that has an infiltrate, even Plague Marines have an infiltrate now, right? So where you can stage way more aggressively and still get these hidden mechanics, and your opponent is having to really struggle pushing forward. So this is where I can understand where like a lot of guard players are upset, a lot of Tau players are upset with that. Tau's a little bit more medium range, so they shouldn't be having as many problems. But like, that's a big deal when it comes down to it, because that doesn't feel like the way that it was intentioned, right? The inability to shoot on turn 1 should be balanced out by indirect fire, but GW can't find a balance and is giving it the fly treatment. Exactly. Right? Where it's the whole thing of then what do you do, right? You boost indirect fire, but then indirect fire is already a problem in itself, because indirect fire it can get really broken the more you let it go, right? And this is why, like, because it's the thing that hidden isn't broken. It's that the problem is that the writing on hidden needs to be fixed, because there's no way that this is the intention of hidden. There is no physical possible way that this is what GW intended when they were doing this. I do not believe it. I don't believe it to the point where we even saw it on the rules, and myself and a judge both looked at it and went, I cannot believe that that's accurate right now. Like, that is something that needs to be either fixed or we all need to ignore it, because that is clearly not the game intended. That's clearly not how this is supposed to work, right? Because if I can set up an entire unit in front of a barricade, put one guy behind the dense terrain piece or 2 guys behind it to where they can all be in coherency, and then you can't shoot me outside of 12, is not only broken, it doesn't make any sense when it comes to making the game more narrative. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're telling me that my dudes who are standing out there in the middle of this field, touching a terrain plate, you know, are now totally safe and they've all laid on the ground? Like, what? Like, what? So they're all laying on the ground because one dude is behind a silo. They are shielded by the power of friendship. Yeah. Honestly, yes, it is the power of friend. Did I? All right, I didn't misspell it. Hell yeah. You guys believe I went to journalism school and I still can't spell stuff? It's fine. That wasn't a requirement. That's the editor's job. I wasn't an editor. There's been so many changes to boost. This is the rule working as intended, but unintended consequences. Yeah, like, I completely agree with that. I don't think that it's how they meant it to go, right? But it's the fact that they wrote stupid stuff. They wrote dumb, stupid things in this freaking book, to the point where, like, I'm looking over here and going, like, within, right? Because all it says is within. But like even here in the thing, it's like this technically doesn't count as fully within. But oh yeah, you can't see what I'm pointing at because I'm not smart. That's fine. Like this doesn't get benefit of cover. But if you move them half an inch back, they would get it. Okay, why? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's one of those things where it kind of feels like you know what this feels like? This feels like the fights first rule, right? Where you would scour through the book trying to find what happens when you charge a fights first unit into another unit that has fights first on the data sheet. And there was just nothing that people could find that was really, really explaining what happened, to the point where like I would play games and people would be like, no, this is how fights first work. And it until I memorized the core rules myself for that, it would switch every other game. The rules would change every other game. And this is something that I'm seeing already where it's like this should not be within the terrain area. This should be touching the terrain area. This should be within the terrain area. This should be touching the terrain area. This should be, like it says, 6 of its models are within the terrain area, but it should be 5 of its models are within the terrain area, because technically that's not fully within. And we should do that. We should be, if it within should either be wholly or not wholly. It should be touching or within. That is the 2 words that they should use. Touching the objective or within the objective. Within means the whole unit should be within the bounds of the objective. Right? Like when the past objective markers, you wouldn't say, oh, well, this unit is within range of the objective marker, but this model is not. So you wouldn't get your full OC. It should be the same way where hidden should be all or nothing. All the unit is in there or they're not all in there. Let's see. It feels like all of these rules issues could be solved by a writer having to run a rule by another person. Yeah. Like this is how bad it's gotten, because it's to the point where it's like, here's exactly the conversation that I think happened, and it's very realistic sounding, right? Hey, let's call these 2 employees. Let's call them Bob and Jim. Let's just call them Bob and Jim. Random names, right? Let's call them Bob and Jill. Let's have some diversity. Bob and Jill. So Bob and Jill are there. Don't worry. They'll nerf the Rogaldorn by another 20 points. They'll let the Rogaldorn get hidden as long as it's not fully within a terrain plate, and you have to measure to make sure you're outside of 25% of the model being on it. No. Okay, so we've got Bob and Jill in the office. Bob has written this rule about hidden and how the terrain area works, and Jill is listening to it. All right, so this is how the conversation went. Hey, Jill. All right, I just got done with the hidden rule. I think this is going to be a really great thing to keep infantry alive and to really encourage people to bring things that aren't just a billion toughness T tanks. All right, yeah, let me hear it. Okay, so how it works is benefit of cover is every model in the unit meets one of the more following conditions. That unit has benefit of cover against the attack, right? With that model has the infantry beast swarm keyword and is within the terrain area. That model is not visible to the attacking model due to one or more intervening terrain features or one or more blah, 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 blah. Okay, going into that. The model is hidden while all the following apply. That model has the infantry beast swarm keyword and is within a terrain area that contains one or more dense terrain features. That model's unit did not make one or more range attacks during this turn or the previous turn. And that model's hidden, otherwise the direction is blah, 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 blah. Right? And then the other employee goes, okay, so that means that if the unit is fully on the terrain plate, that they would get the benefit of cover and hidden. Yeah. So fully on, right? No. If they're even just touching it. Well, what do you mean? Are they within the terrain plate or are they just touching the terrain plate? Well, if they're touching the terrain plate, they're within the terrain plate's range. Right, but if they're not fully within the terrain plate, that doesn't technically count as within, because if you're touching it, you're not within the terrain plate, you're just touching the terrain plate, which doesn't mean you're within the bounds of what a terrain plate is. You're outside of the bounds technically. Yeah, but they don't think about that. They'll play it the right way. That when I mean within, that I mean that the whole unit has to be within, or that the whole like model's base has to be fully within the piece. Well, what happened to the what's about the controlling a terrain objective diagram? Yeah, well, this tank's within the terrain area. Hey, why are we using the word within for every single characteristic that end scene? Thank you guys for listening to my terrible acting. But like, you see what I'm talking about? I love that somebody came back the minute I wrapped that up. But you see what I'm talking about with that, where like you then have within, because the definition of within needs the word holy, it seems, because they're also willing to say holy within. So no, okay. Like you were saying, Saded, it does seem like a thing where they went, it's probably not going to be that broken. And they didn't play it. And they all showed up for the FIFA Cup in the United States. And then they're back on vacation now. They're back. It's giving the I'm not touching you sibling argument. Yeah, you should have seen how, because even me and the guy who I was playing against, we got a little heated, not like bad, but we were like, this is breaking our brains, like heated. Because I was like, you're not fully within. You're not within the terrain plate. You're touching. You're in range. And he was like, even the judge was like, yeah, you're technically not. You get benefit of cover, but you don't get like, you're visible. I can see you, right? Even he was like, yeah, you're still visible. Like you're not within the terrain plate and hidden. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, cool. We're at the start of the edition. It's the constant problem that we keep having of the, oh my Lord, why is it not working? Like, why is this not working? And it's because you can't just look at a rule and then go and say, well, we're going to just kind of leave it to the interpretation of the group with 40K. Because there's always going to be somebody who's going to look at that and go, I can beat that, right? The problem is that rules lawyers, exactly. They have to explain all of these rules, and then everything feels rushed, which is so goofy and silly because it's one of those things where it's like you then wonder like how much resources are they putting into this, right? Like I was talking to a couple of the guys who are way more well knowledgeable. The last dude that I played was the dude who is 87th, was 87th in the world. He's now 145th, I think he said, as a Blood Angel player. And like the fact that he knows that it's like, yeah, it's one team that does all of 40K. Well, yeah, no wonder it feels rushed and also at the same time not fully explained, because it like if they're doing 28 factions all at once and there's not individual teams for each faction, then like of course it feels weird. But then at the same time, then whose fault is that? Right? Like it's DW Upper's fault because they're not putting enough resources into those teams. Where we're sitting here where we're all listening to me chat for 2 hours about the fact that these terrain features are now having a insanely broken rule if we don't play it the way that feels like it's intended, right? Like if that model was only like half an inch back, that would literally explain everything with this diagram. But the problem is that it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Even when I just threw out the example, it doesn't work as a rule. Personally, for me, I'm not going to play it that way. Even at a tournament, I might try at a tournament just to be cheeky and try and win and do good. But like if I'm playing casual, if you ever see me do that, it's somebody's replaced my body with an alien brain, because that sucks. That's lame. It's stupid. It's not narrative. It doesn't work. And I would recommend this is one of those rules I would recommend discussing with your opponent before every game and making sure you guys understand what hitting an obscurity is supposed to mean, because it's very complicated, right? Like it's very, very, very complicated for that reason. Like even this, right? Like this is not this hard. Like this is not this hard. Like even us, there's 3 people in here with me, and we've already all figured out how this is supposed to work. Right? It's that really annoying. Just somebody wasn't thinking in the editing process, right? I actually wonder if it's the editor's fault. And I wonder if the editor looked at some of these words and said, why are you saying wholly within all the time? That's redundant. It's within. It's a redundancy to say wholly within. And it's like, no, we need redundancy. Please be redundant. I mean, we're so redundant as Warhammer players that when I got Whataburger on Saturday night after my tournament, I was asking the lady how far I needed to pull my car front. Do I need to pull it to where I'm within that? To the point where I literally, Emma was in the car with me going like, oh my God, you don't need to ask the drive-through lady if you need to be wholly within these 2 lines. I'm like, I do, because GW won't let me know. It's crazy. It's crazy, especially with all the other releases that they're doing all right now, Exodites, all this other stuff. And then they're still looking at us going like, yeah, but don't worry, guys. You're going to get your rule changes on Wednesday, because right now you guys don't need to worry about any of the balance stuff or the FAQ or the things that fixes the freaking game. Like tinfoil hat, the team is using AI to edit their rules, which is removing some redundancies, which are actually important to the interpretation of the rules. Very interesting. That's a very interesting theory. And if that is the truth, that would be insane, because GW has come out saying that they don't use AI. And I wonder what that statement actually says. Don't use AI. And I wonder if they only meant their art. Okay, so CEO Kevin Roundtree confirms that, yeah, so if they are using AI, no, it refers to generation. Games Workshop officially bans the use of generative AI in its official design processes and content production. So with content production, that also includes any of the writing, any of the books, anything like that. And source for that, this is a IGN article. As much as IGN is not the greatest when it comes to games journalism, this is a very good article for it, because it's specifically from Roundtree himself. They've got some primary sources from him. And he's banned from using it to actually produce anything, but admitted a few guys are, maybe that's where it is, where the few senior guys are using it. It does say GW staff are barred for using it to produce anything. So it could be used for editors, for senior managers, but they do say we've agreed on an internal policy to guide us all to not use AI generated content or AI to be used in our design processes or its unauthorized use outside of GW, including any of our competitions. So that's a very, very long, cautious sentence that says design processes, right? Now, technically, is a codex a design processes? Is a core rule design processes? Yes, right? Hiring more creatives from concepting and art to writing and sculpting, right? But they could, when they mean the writing, they could specifically mean the Black Library books. But the reason I don't think it's that is because they don't have their own staff write their Black Library books. They have their authors who already are not technically a part of GW, I believe. I believe they're more on like a contractor basis. Oh, excuse me. I have a little tummy ache if I don't drink that. So Maybe. So it may be used, right? The only thing that says is to writing and sculpting. So maybe they don't use it in the narrative books. Maybe they don't use it in the narrative campaign books, but maybe they do use it in writing and editing the core rules, which that is how it feels. It does feel like a lot of these are AI rush stuff because it's weird, but it's one of I think because the problem with a lot of this is like I mean, these things get messed up, right? Like even a human error, you know, as much as we dislike AI, this could also be a human error, right? It's normal. Editors make stuff out. Yeah, definitely DM me the pictures on the bolt action rule. I'm very intrigued on how they do how bolt action does core cover rules, because I wonder if they've taken any from that. So yeah, definitely send me a message with that. I will definitely pull that up on screen and take a look at that. It could be because that's the thing is it could be like a human error, but even the problem, thank you. The problem with it, right, isn't even specifically the fact that this rule is messed up. It is their attitude around fixing these rules, right? Their attitude around fixing these rules is laissez-faire, and it's honestly kind of disturbing. Not disturbing as like, but it's disturbing from a customer point of view, because that Q&A rubbed me the wrong way. Rubbed me really the wrong way. I'm gonna be honest. Adam and the other dude, y'all need to give me an apology. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But it is one where they're like, yeah, you guys are gonna get these fixes on Wednesday, July 22nd. We're gonna do it then. My guy, the core rules are broken. There's something wrong with the core rules when you guys have already updated the core rules to be incorrect. You've already updated the core rules to be incorrect. So now you're telling us that we have to wait, when on the other side of this, like, what are you talking about? Why are we waiting when what okay, then why should I buy your product? In all realness, why should I buy your product then? Like, why would I buy your product if you're going to tell me that it's not important when it is important? We played a tournament and the rules were wrong, right? I played different rules per thing, where most of the guys didn't play that way. That one dude played differently than everybody else because technically everyone else is playing with intention. And when he was playing rules lawyers, which is the right way to play at times, right? If that's the way that it is and that's the way you can take advantage of it, unfortunately, this game is not balanced enough to not want to take advantage of things like that. But it is the problem of if you're not going to take care of your own stuff, then why would I buy more of your products? You know, like, I mean, these are already expensive. Like, could you imagine they do another price hike? Like, come on. And you're not even going to give us core rules. So let's look at what these, let's see what this says on here. So, oh my God, that's a lot of. So if less than 50% of the shooters in the firing unit can clear a line of fire to at least 50% of the models in the target unit, then the target is in cover. Here. That's the thing. So you get the cover, like the bolt action rule. If you can't tell either way in cover, you get the cover save at -1. So a 5 up instead of a 4 up for hard cover. Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, if you guys can't tell for sure, like personally, like my thing is like, if it's something where it's like you're doing well, just give it to the other person. If they're doing well, give them cover. Like, I always like to give advantage to whoever's losing, right? In those arguments. If like for the dude that we were playing against, right? He's arguing this and I move Fulgrim up to fix it. But I'm winning the game by about 50 points. I was like, I'm not gonna like say that you don't get it for sure, even though I'm not for sure. I'm just gonna fix it using charges because you're losing the game. I'm not gonna, spit on you and be like, yeah, rules is rules, loser. Right? If I'm already gonna win the game and it doesn't matter. right? But it is frustrating because it's stupid. I like this though, where it's like everybody has to determine whether or not they can shoot at it, because it is silly when they're like, all right, well, one model gets to see that and everybody else gets to see that one guy. And so all the rest of the unit is going to take damage, when it's like, if one dude is sticking his head out of cover, we've all seen Saving Private Ryan. The way that that happens is that one dude is now on the ground and everybody else is going, oh no, everybody stop being outside of cover, right? So that was always something that was so strange to me about fighting and stuff like that, is whenever they were like, well, I could see one of your models, so that means that all my guys who could see that one model are going to get to shoot at every other model who's behind the wall. And you're like, but what about the wall? Why does the wall not matter? It's like, well, because this game would be another hour if we worried about that. And you're like, yeah, good point. But like, I'm gonna be real. If this doesn't change on Wednesday, we're gonna have a hard time playing this game. Like, could you imagine trying to kill any horde? Like, this is when you try and play hordes. Like, this is when you play hordes right now. Hordes of infantry, to the point where you just do all that stupid stuff and you go, every single one of them has gone to ground, and you're just like, so we just don't shoot each other at that point. Yeah, cover is not hard to get. It compensates for having no armor saves, and that's the thing. Is like, I'm fine with cover not being hard to get, right? Like, it makes sense in a war game and things like that. We have super soldiers, we have normal guys. Like, I mean, it's cover, right? Like it makes sense for guys with guns to be running to a wall and Gears of War sliding their butts right against that wall into cover, right? Like, cover makes sense. It makes actually so much sense now with the -1, -2, right? Or the not -1, -2, but -1 ballistic skill, maybe -1 to hit, right? If you're super fast in cover, because it made sense. Like, it makes sense from a narrative, a design, and a game point of view to say, okay, this thing can do benefit of cover because of the fact that it's behind a wall, and that makes it harder to hit. Miraculous. We finally, after all these additions, figured it out that makes total sense, right? It's the fact that, like, they did the thing of being like, well, in the first 2 turns, it's going to be really hard for you to just get basically destroyed. And then they said, oh, it's the entire game. The entire game, if you don't shoot your guns, you can have a lone op built into your units, right? Bolt action is much more of a vibes game. Yeah, and here's the thing is, like, 40K in itself has a very wide range of how you can play it, right? You could play it to be super competitive. You can play it to be the best of the game. You can play to try to win every game, right? Or you can play it in a way where you're making a little thing, and it's not really about, who wins or who loses. It's about, what the mission is and what your story is. Like Emma and I will like to play games sometimes where I create a little narrative for us. Like we did our Deathmire games with EC and Harlequins, and we made a little narrative about the Harlequins actually stealing crystals for their guns from the Emperor's children. And the reason why we had certain missions, right, was that the Harlequins were then trying to escape, right? Defender and attacker came down to what the story was going on. And since I was the defender, I went, okay, so that means I'm defending my fort of crystals from you trying to take them, right? And the next game, she was the defender that we played. So I said, okay, so you've gone to like this spaceport to try and get out because we've busted some way of you to get out, but you're trying to leave. So now we're jumping on you and attacking you while you are trying to do this triangulate mission so that you can open up this webway gate and get out of here, right? Your mission specifically has to do with the narrative we're coming up with. And it was a super fun game where at the end of the game, I decided that, well, I didn't kill everything in her army. Whether that was the objective of the actual points part of the game, I was like, okay, well, I won the game, but I lost the story because I didn't kill everything. So your Wave Serpent was the thing holding all the crystals, and the Wave Serpent and their driver got out. And so they survived. And so technically out of that story, she had devastating losses, but she won her side of the story, which was getting these crystals out of this feature. Now, did it happen the way that she wanted to? Absolutely not, because everything died except for like that Wave Serpent. But the narrative made it something where now in the next game that we play, if I'm the defender, now there's an entire narrative built because I can go, okay, well, if I'm the defender, that means you're getting revenge for me decimating your force last time. And it feels right. The game feels narrative, but it's the thing of GW doesn't account for that. Emma and I've talked about it where it's like GW is very much a gentlemanly's company where even though they know that's not how we play, they assume that that's how they're going to make the rules no matter what. And I think that's something that they need to get a little bit better on, even though like it feels like they just keep hiring people who may be like, I'm going to try and hope that maybe these guys can do it. And then you look at them and you're like, no, don't trust us. Give us the rules fully. Like, look at look at this guy, right? Look at the new orc dude. Like, let's see if I can actually how do I zoom in? Does anybody know how to zoom in on this thing? I don't know. I don't remember. Open image in new tab. There we go. Like, this guy has got really strong rules that pretty much breaks like I don't say it breaks anything, but like ignores cover, does all this stuff. Yeah. The thing is that in all honesty, what because that like Lone Op is strong and it is a strong thing. Like, because that's the thing. I understand why it is the way. By the way, he can hit you with his custom blaster. Calling that this guy is another. Oh, that this guy's another rug pull. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like right now, what's crazy is that like orcs are really strong right now when your boys are the same points as infantry. I don't understand how that was supposed to work. But like, by the way, I feel like orcs are definitely one of those armies in which a lot of people are like, oh, orcs aren't that great. I have never played into orcs without a problem. Right? I always play into orcs and I'm like, man, these guys are really good. And every single orc player that I play against always undercuts how good orcs are, even in shooting. When they're like, all right, cool. Yeah, my orc shooting's not that great. Here's 40 dice coming towards you. And I'm like, 40 dice and me saving 40 times, even 20 times is not good for me. What are you talking about? This is great. Like, goofy, you know? Yeah, like I haven't won a single game against orcs. Back even in 10th edition, orcs are good. And this makes orcs even way better. And that's what the thing I'm worried about with a lot of that is that. And you know what? And that's, and that's the thing I like is that I like the orc community and the vibe community, but it's also the funny thing of like orcs have been strong since Mordaka came out. Like orcs are strong. People just don't play them all the time because I think that they're, I don't know, but orcs are really strong and they're going to be the best army in the game starting out for a very long time because they're going to get their codex first. But it's the frustrating thing about like a model like this or the thing. Yeah, like they can shoot, which also world leaders do too, which is crazy. They have more shooting than even EC does. Oh, they can shoot better than Marines can for EC. It's great. But like the problem is that it's not even the fact that like that hidden is broken, because I don't think hidden is broken if you do the what feels like should be the intentioned way that the rules should work, where you're not just going, yeah, don't talk to Nick about world leaders and shooting. I have a lot of upsets about that they're better at shooting than we are. But like that's the thing is like the way that it works with hidden, right? If you just said, hey, you have to be fully on the plate to get it, it would work. Like it would work. It would work a lot better than how it does. So like a good way of explaining it is going back to this, right? Because like the problem with hidden isn't the fact that hidden is what it is. It's that they set it up in a way that's so broken. Is it because they get tanks? Yeah, they get Forge Fiends. They get Forge Fiends that we don't get. So they get a cheap shooting unit that we have to pay a ton for. And it's, oh, and they also get the Predators and the Vindicators and all the things that like I would run, but I don't have, right? So if like hidden work the way that it's supposed to, right? Okay. You put stuff onto this objective, right? You get hidden, right? You wouldn't get the obscuring over here. It would be 15 inches, still tough, but you're forcing your entire army to stay on this plate for anything that wants to stay hidden in the first turn. Even this one's kind of okay for hidden for 15, right? Oh, yeah, I knew that. That's also the funny thing. Emma can attest to this. Everyone just thinks that GW hates EC. And I mean, they're probably right on that case, but it's because everybody keeps saying that. Everybody's like, yeah, they hate y'all. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I hate me too. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding. But like, hidden should work if you're forcing basically everybody to be on these terrain plates, right? Because then, like, having an extra inch off that terrain plate is so helpful when it comes to movement in the movement game, right? When it's like, okay, the negative is then yeah, well, you're having to stage units back here, so you can't go as far in the first turn. Even then, like you're still having to do that. Exactly. They hate most factions that aren't Space Marines. Like staging up here, right? The bonus for me is I stage with scout units that move up directly against the base plate so that they don't get shot. But otherwise, I could hide an entire part of my army back here. I could hide an entire part of my army back here. I can hide an entire part of my army back here. So it's one of those things where, oh, thank you. So they do like orcs, but they will always deny it. No, that's true. Thank you, Emma, for checking that. I was on the wrong screen. So as you can see where I'm at here, right? Like even if you're doing the deployment, it makes sense for the hidden to be on the terrain plate because at least you're confined by this terrain plate, right? You can't move as far. You can't just shove a ton of units on here, right? Like you could probably throw 3 units of Noise Marines on here with 40 millimeter bases. So that's about 18 40 millimeter bases before you stop getting hidden on certain units. So that's a lot of bases, but it is something where it's like, well, then you're confined onto your home objective and there's ways of stopping that. Same even here. You can maybe put 1 unit on here to get them hidden, right? Even here, you might be able to put 1 unit on here, right? Like this should be 1 unit, this should be 1 unit, and this should maybe be able to hold 3, right? Like it shouldn't be the way that they're going because right now you could have 2 units be hidden, 3 units even be hidden on here, 4 units be hidden over here, and 5 units be hidden over here. When the way it should be is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe at the very most, right? If I put something up here, it should not be able to get hidden. It should be trying to either advance or scout onto something to get hidden or getting behind the base plate. Like right here, I put stuff right here, not so that it would get hidden, but so it could advance up or scout up into this area, right? So that I can get maybe basically behind this little wall right here. Because then you have to move out all the way up here to start shooting, right? That's already good enough. That's already good enough to keep you safe, right? And that's where hidden works if you do it the way that it feels like its intention, which is fully on the base plate. Because otherwise, you then have like opportunities to then say like, okay, well, melee can't get to you in the first turn no matter what, pretty much, unless you move stuff up or, I go second. At least this is kind of doing the same thing where it's like you either have to fully extend one thing to shoot something, right? Or to shoot more things, or you just don't target something in the first turn. But the way that people have been playing it, even if you extend yourself, you can't shoot anything no matter what. That's the part that makes it broken. Like the first turn being an inactive turn, oh, it's kind of okay. It's the first turn. It really, like, I mean, it's a 5-turn game, right? But the problem is that even if you overextend yourself, you should be able to get charges, get shots off, right? Even if it's not the greatest way to play the first round or the way to keep you alive. Like, if I move something into my opponent's territory, I should be able to target something, right? Exactly. Like right now, you can abuse it. I don't recommend doing it, but if Moose is going to do precision combat knives, you can abuse it. I think that's fair. But exactly, like that's the thing is like when you're running a bunch of melee, technically, if you saw how that works, like you can abuse this really, really badly. And it's going to come down to something where you play it and you go, man, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel fair. And if they don't change it, then like I'm gonna agree with you that this is the melee edition and that's just not a fair way of playing the game. Yeah, the Demon Prince on foot, especially in CSM, is really nice. Because doesn't he also get the ability to like select certain abilities like precision, I think? He's got like a selection thing that he can do for his, because he gets benefit of cover, being within 6, lone op, and then I think he gets to select something. I can't remember. I'm actually gonna, I was like, I could pull that up actually. New post. Oh my god. Oh, it's the orc guy. I thought it was a new model because it looked like it was maybe something mounted. I was like, oh, that's nice. Cover and reroll 1 wound in 1 hit. That's nice. Not super great. Not the worst thing in the world, but not the best thing in the world. Like a very solid ability. I like it. Rerolling ones are nice. Or rerolling 1 hit, 1 wound is nice, especially with that 3 damage. That's very nice. That's fun. Yeah, like that's the thing is you can abuse this to basically have lone op throughout the entire thing. And I know that's not how that's supposed to work, to the point where judges are looking at me and going, he's right, you're wrong. Like, he's right, you're wrong, even though that's what the core rule technically says. Like, that's not how that's supposed to play. That was never how that was supposed to play. To the point where, like, yeah, like, that's not how that was supposed to play. It makes sense if they're saying, because originally it was only dense terrain pieces that you could get benefit of that hidden on. So you couldn't get hidden here, you couldn't get hidden here. You couldn't technically get hidden on that these plates either, right? So that's the thing. They're also changing the rules without like really doing anything. Like the hidden rule was an update. That was a random update. That's now the core rules are not like I looked at the core rules. The core rules didn't update either. So that's the frustrating thing is that now we have some updates that are happening and it breaks the intention of it because, yeah, okay, well, how are you going to get a whole model on that terrain piece? But also at the same time, then are you saying that a dude who's hanging out over here can't be seen? Like, what are we talking about? Like, so if I have a unit that's just basically like this, right? Like, and you're standing right here, that technically you can't see them outside of 15. That doesn't feel right. The dude's right here, like dude's right here. So that's how I feel about that. I'm not a big fan of that. Otherwise, the tournament was super fun. I got to network with a lot of great people. Every one of my opponents was super fun to hang out with and play. I definitely recommend if you want to get some RTT practice, going up and playing up at Nexus. They do little RTTs, I think like every other month because they have one in Wichita and they also have one up in Denton. I like the Denton one personally just because I used to live up there. And they are a great RTT, superbly run. All of the terrain plates are fantastic. Everything is accurate. Setting up was super easy. I'm gonna be completely real. I really enjoy Nexus and how they run tournaments. They're potentially going to be doing GTs and stuff now too as well. So I'm gonna maybe hopefully try and work with them on that and stuff like that, hopefully. Because I enjoy their tournament setups even more than I enjoy GW's. I find that they are way more attentive, their terrain works a lot better, and I'm going to be honest, every single table had accurate amounts of terrain, and every single time. Comfy chairs as well. Every single one of their chairs is like a recliner pretty much. So nice. And that was the big thing too, is like, I will be real, the experience at Nexus has been better than the Opens because they actually have the correct amount of terrain that they can put on there and not have the weird thing of walls not accurately working. So I definitely recommend going and checking them out. They're awesome. They're some friends too. So they're really fun, especially if you want to get some practice for some of these bigger games like the Lone Star Open that's coming up here August 1st and 2nd with FLG Gaming, Frontline Gaming, for those who aren't in the know. But I'll be up there August 1st and 2nd. We're not going to do any lists clinics today because we didn't get any lists, and that's okay. We had a great time talking about this core rule and talking about some of the tournament stuff. So I'm going to sign off for today. I thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate talking with you guys and hanging out for all this stuff. It's been super fun. Yeah, man, I get that. Like, it's hard to get the motivation for playing casual games, right? This is why I like playing tournaments. This is why I like playing campaigns. They're also doing a campaign up there at Nexus for Crusade. I think I might end up joining that one. I think they're going to do Armageddon, but it's like a giant Risk style one that's really interesting. And they have tons of players, but no EC players. So, boop, my Noise Marines will be screaming across the battlefield. But I definitely can't shout out Nexus more. It's a great store. It's a little bit of a drive from Dallas, but if you have the time to get up there, it's super worth it. But yeah, I don't blame the struggle for the motivation to play casual games. Like when it comes down to it, like the rules are going to get fixed. The rules are whatever. The nice thing is that these rules are only really concrete if you play them at tournaments. Right? If you want to go and you want to play with your buddies, like talk it out, make it work. Right? Because if things aren't working and things aren't playing the way that you want them to, this is the nice thing about Warhammer over other games is it's not like a Fortnite or Call of Duty, right? Where if they patch the game and it sucks and it's broken, that's it, right? There's nothing you can do. You can't unpatch the game. But at least, even if you don't like the 11th edition rules, if you bought the core rule set, for Leviathan back in 10th edition, nobody's stopping you from playing 10th edition. Go back and play 10th edition, enjoy the 10th edition games. Like if you liked how that played, there should be no reason why we can't ever set up a 10th edition game, like that's the cool thing about it. I understand that. Ooh, yeah, man. Oh, if you guys are looking to play some second edition 30K, I am very much interested in playing some second edition 40K at a second point or at a point. I have the second edition codex for Chaos, and it's awesome. It's so cool. So yeah, like exactly. Like we could play some second edition. We could play. I think I have the third edition core rule book. So if we even wanted to play some third edition, I think I have the third edition core rule book as well. So I don't know if the second to third is super different, but if they're pretty similar, I do have the core rule book for 3. So we could even play that, right? And like as much as I do enjoy as a melee player the changes that are going on, I enjoy the fact that it's not objective markers anymore. I enjoy the fact that like the terrain works for the way. Some old hammer would be super fun. And that's the nice thing. That's what I love about this hobby is that like we can set up a day for some old hammer and play some old hammer and go, this is fun. Like, this is how we should be, you go back and enjoy it and play. Or also, here's another thing I also recommend. If you're playing casual games, I really recommend looking up the twists and playing the twists. The twists are really cool. I really enjoy all of the twists. I think there's not a single one of them that I don't really dislike. I think there's a couple that are slightly boring where they're just like Like Mirror World, where you both play the same mission, is just a little boring. That's the only thing that I didn't like out of that. But like night fighting is super cool. You can't get shot outside of 18 if you want to play 2 melee blobs, right? You could do there's a twist that removes the solid rule. I need to find out exactly, like I need to pull up the actual like wording for it. But the way that that would work is that there would be no solid rule for anything, so you could shoot through any singular piece of terrain whatsoever. No, okay, well let me pull it up. I have to make a game. Blah bleep. Battle boys. Doot. Eldar. You need, because I don't care. Take and hold, I guess. Whatever. Create my own custom deployment twist. Yeah, here we go. Old Hammer discussion stream later and call it a day. Yeah, probably. I also have to do some editing for my Flawless Blade video, so we won't have another stream on today, but we will have an Old Hammer discussion stream on Friday. So that will be what we do on Friday, because I'm still working out how to do painting streams, because I only have one camera set up to stream directly into my PC, so I'm still figuring some of that stuff out. But like I recommend I would recommend playing a couple of these twists for doing some of these. Yeah, do an Old Hammer. I'll look up some core rules and we'll do some Old Hammer list reviews. That'll be some fun. That'll be a fun change. So I recommend, if you're playing like a 1,000 point game, I recommend playing Martial Pride, which allows you to do battle line units can start in action in a turn in which it advanced, and it can shoot in a turn in which it started in action. That's a really fun one if you're wanting to play with a ton of little infantry and you want to be able to do like your actions and stuff and not worry about all these fast moving stuff. That one's really fun. Night fighting is cool if you want to play 2 melee blobs or you don't have a lot of terrain, where you're not visible unless they are within 18, and indirect also has to be within 18. So, Saded, you probably wouldn't like night fighting, but you probably would really like Nowhere to Hide, where terrain features do not have the solid rule, where this twist lets models draw line of sight through any gap in a terrain feature, allowing for more true line of sight and more lethal shooting. Like, you would love to play Nowhere to Hide. Like, I recommend playing a game of 11th with Nowhere to Hide, and I think you'll have a lot more fun. Or even Ruinscape for your tanks and stuff. A normal or advanced move, anytime you do that, you gain mobile, so you can move through that. Right? It's not really. It's just the first turn is weird. Like, that's the thing, is that once you get to round 3, if you're playing aggressively, you don't get hidden. Like, I'm gonna be real. Emma can attest to this, to where like at a certain point, once you get into like your opponent's territory, you just don't get hidden anymore, right? It's like a first 2-3 turns, maybe max, of getting hidden and gone to ground. And at a certain point, you just don't get it, because you're just gonna move stuff forward anyways. Because even the game encourages you to get out of your home. I don't know, unless like it's in Take and Hold or a disposition I haven't played. I know out of 3 of the 7 dispositions or whatever they have, 3 of them, none of the missions allow you to touch your home objective and get points. So it is a lot. There's a lot of balance to it when it comes down to that later on. But it is some of the things of like Ruinscape and those things where it's like you don't have to like draw a line of sight through random things. So like right even here, like you could shoot through it. I understand how like it feels, and the problem is that, again, GW is not talking about any of this or really discussing it in the correct format, in my opinion, to where it's something in which that they're doing a good job. Like, it's kind of like how you can't really focus on deep strike blocking forever. Exactly, yeah, that's exactly the same thing, where it's like you can kind of keep a couple of things where it's like it's in your home objective, but at a certain point, like you have to do something. Right? It's like if you're in round 2 or 3 and if they're deep strike blocking you, then you got to show up on the battlefield at some point, right? Like it's one of those where as a core, it's one of those rules where it's like as a core concept, when you read it and you look at it, it looks annoying and it looks like it would affect the entire game, when it's really just kind of the first 2 turns, I would say, is the most effective times of hidden. But it does mean that, like, those first 2 turns, with the way that the rule is written, does make it a very big disadvantage, right? And that's why I don't play it that way, because I don't find that fair, right? Like, you should have to use your skills of getting to the terrain pieces and either being fully within them or being like, "Oh, I'm not going to move this unit because I want them to be behind these walls and not be shot unless you move forward," right? So it's like it is one of those where I understand the feeling of it, because it's kind of like when Titus got his infinite revive ability, and it was that very much of like, oh my god, he can yeah. Honestly, like, it's not a bad idea. I infiltrated 2 units of tormentors, and in all honesty, my list has increased to 3 infiltrating units. That's actually a big thing that's changed in my list, is that I've increased the amount of infiltrators specifically to not worry about it and go, you have to move out. You have to move out and try and start shooting stuff, you know? So it's one of those where it's a lot more nuanced, unless people are playing it in the very min-max, in my opinion, kind of taking advantage of the game, right, in its early states, when we've kind of had everybody talk about how benefit of cover works and how hidden works and how we're all kind of on the same page about it. But it's because they updated a core rule thing that they really shouldn't have done. Because, like, then it was like you could only get benefit of cover off of those 2 little things, or otherwise you would pretty much have to be fully on. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's like, one, it's probably going to change throughout the edition, because we're, again, a month out. And it's why, like, I get so upset with GW about how all this works, is because, like, you yourself are like, I don't really want to play it anymore because there's all these rules, and now I have to navigate all these things, and I have to worry about whether or not I'm getting taken advantage of, because what the rule is not exactly what everybody's discussing the rule is, because the rule changed randomly and then they didn't discuss that. But then when they had the opportunity to discuss it, they told us that they didn't care about discussing it. They told us all to wait. And that's just a whole avalanche of negative to where it's like, yeah, I completely understand you not wanting to do it. I get it. Like, I know for the first 2 weeks of me playing, I played a couple of Deathmire games against Emma, and I played one game, a little mini game of 10th, which was decently fun, or 11th, that was decently fun on a little bad size board. So, like, I didn't care; it didn't matter. But, like, even then, I was like, yeah, I'm not playing random right now. I'll play tournaments. I'll play things where it's more structured and more formatted. Like, even this crusade that I'm thinking about joining out in Denton is specifically because it's a paid crusade and it's with the store and it's an official, like, thing where it's not just potentially all of us having to agree on stuff, right? Because, again, like, this game benefits from having yeah, exactly. Like, the benefit of it, like, the whole thing about this is that it's like the game needs structure because of the way that mentalities are, and that's understandable. We're all trying to win. It's become this really hyper competitive thing, and some people are just hyper competitive mindset, right? Like, they can't enjoy the narrative side of it. They have to win every single game, and they have to do it perfectly. Um, and that's whatever. That's how they want to play. That's how they want to do stuff. Who gives a crap? Whatever. That's why I like playing in structurally formatted events and games and modes and things like that, is specifically because of when people are allowed to do it however they want to, and there's not as much structure. The problem is, I'm very much trying to not call people out, but yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where there's a reason why we have FAQs, there's a reason we have erratas, there's a reason we have rules, and the reason why we do this stuff and update it and fix this stuff is because there are people who will take advantage of players. And that sucks, because that's not how this game is supposed to go. In all honesty, one of the things I've always said is, if you are winning every single one of your games, there is 3 things that is going wrong. There is either you are playing something wrong, your opponent's playing something wrong, or there is something broken in the rules. Because no one in 40K should be winning every single one of their games. Like, unless you're going to a tournament and you're playing sweaty and you're going crazy. Like, even the dude that I played with, who was 147th Blood Angel player in the world, is sitting there going, I'm not winning every single one of my games. I shouldn't be. I should lose some of my games. And in all honesty, my biggest thing is that this game has enough cheating in it already that I'm going to be real. I'm not interested in playing with people who want to bend the rules to make it unfair or unfun for other people. And to make this extremely clear, I found an extremely powerful loophole for Emperor's Children that I will not exploit. So basically how choosing targets work and how Emperor's Children advance in charges, right, is that you can only charge into something that like basically wasn't the target of another unit's charge. So if I fail a charge in 10th edition and then I couldn't charge in that thing with the other advanced unit, you don't select targets anymore. So if I fail, it still means I can charge into something else. To me, that feels like it's breaking the core restriction of the rule. I don't find that fair. And until they release a new codex or an errata that says, yes, that's exactly how that works and you can do that, I'm not going to do it. Because, and even I went to the tournament organizers. Well, is there any other EC players here? And they said, no. Okay, so I'm going to play it the way I want to play it, which is I don't get that bonus because that doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel right. And also at the same time, like, if you need to win by getting something that you don't have, then I don't understand why you're playing this game in the first place. Because you're obviously not that great at it. Personally. I watched a dude who played... The dude who I played with demons was giving me a hard time. Like, he was a great guy, but he was a great player. And I had to really think about doing some stuff to block him out. And I had to play against his core rule. His stuff was unpainted. And then he went into the next round and he tabled knights in turn 2 or 3. He tabled freaking knights with Zinch birds and scintillating legion where you give your opponents rerolls to save. And he tabled knights in the next thing. You could even say, like, he refused to give himself points, even if some of the stuff was painted. Right? And some of us don't care. He went, I'm taking 10 points off and I'm tabling people. He had been playing this game since April of this year. Like, this game is hard. There's some people who are just really good at it. But you don't get any better by cheating or saying you have something that you don't or using rules in a way that don't feel correct to the point where nobody else is playing that way. You know? And people get pissed about that, then they can get pissed at me about that. But that's just how it works, right? Like, this game doesn't survive because one person is abusing the rules to make their game better. The only way this game survives is we make it fun for everybody, right? Like say that you don't want to play these unfair games, you know? Like you and I need to play a game where I bring a goofy fun list and you bring your infiltrate your big list of fun stuff, right? Your big infantry list. And you're going to play a game where you're probably going to decimate me because I'm going to play for fun instead of playing the way that I normally play, which is very, very intense and trying to get better. Because, like, yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, they don't hate cycling people out, but the community cycles them out for us, right? Like, I played with a dude who was also named Nick, and he straight up cheated playing Scintillated Legions back in February of this year. Straight up cheated. And if he came onto the stream and wanted to argue it out, I would love for him to. I have literal physical receipts of me taking pictures and videos of what he was doing on the game board, of how it was cheating. It's put it in my videos. You can see it on some of my old videos. If you go look at the RTT Indent one, you can see him cheat on that video, right? And that's the thing is, like, I saw him at one more event in March, and then I've never seen him again. Probably because somebody caught him. Somebody probably caught him cheating, and they said, "Okay, you better not come back here, or I'm gonna call a judge if we are ever paired." Because that's the thing. GW doesn't want to do it. FLG definitely doesn't want to do it, but we want to do it, right? Exactly. 40K events are serious. They are not serious enough for it to be worth cheating. Also, on top of that, and this will be my very much last point before I end the stream and go edit this video so I can get you guys this flawless play video, right? Interesting. There's a new reel about data sheet stuff. Oh God, come on. I thought we were gonna oh, it's Q&A bullcrap. Okay, not important. Exactly. Like the first dude I played against, I was like, I forgot my Terminators at home, and he let me proxy some Noise Marines, and he said, I don't care. I have a 3-month-old at home. I have a 3-month-old at home. I went, I understand. Enjoy. And he won. He won that game, and I'm very happy for him that he won that game because you could tell he's been going through it, sleepless nights and stuff. But exactly, like, and that's the thing too. I am 28 years old. We play Army Men. I play Army Men for a living. Now, do I make much of a living off it? Not yet, but we're working on it. We play Army Men at the end of the day for a hobby. How pathetic. Like, I understand making mistakes in the rule. I understand having issues or making mistakes and not understanding a rule and then trying to figure it out during a game or even afterwards if we've messed up a rule or something. But to intentionally say, I'm going to do something knowing it's not the intention. I played pretty toy soldiers professionally. Exactly. Right? If you have to cheat as a 20 to 35-year-old adult at toy soldiers to feel good about yourself, you need to find a different hobby. I'm going to be completely real. You need to find a different hobby. Because if you need to cheat in this game to have fun, then you need to go pick up a different game. Because that's so stupid, lame. And in all honesty, just against the entire spirit of the game. Go play Magic or something. That's funny. But yeah, I agree. Go play Magic. Go play Magic. Go play Magic. Go play Fortnite. Go play video games. Go put your anti-lag cheat click software on and go shoot a bunch of 12-year-olds. Maybe not in the video game. Not literally in the video game. I have to make sure. This is the United States. It's not a great place for children. Like, exactly. Like, if you are needing to cheat at this freaking game, then, like, you got to get some priorities, man. Like, you got to get some freaking priorities, right? Like, I am the first person to say, oh, well, if I'm accidentally cheating, I'm just going to either kill a unit or disqualify myself. Ah, man, I messed up. Sorry. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's not a big deal if you're making a mistake. But when you come out saying, okay, I understand that this is not how this works, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay, guess what? I'm not playing with you anymore. Have fun. Enjoy that. Because why would I? What's the point? Like, we're the whole point of this game is trust and understanding. But we have so little trust and understanding with some of these people that we have to have the app have the data sheets of your opponent on there because there are some lame freaking losers who will just go, well, I have this, right? Oh, I have this. And then you look at their data sheet and you go, you're fucking wrong. No, you don't have this. What are you talking about? And yeah, every single person has accidentally cheated, right? Like, it's understandable to make a mistake in the rules, right? Like, when I went to my first Dallas Open, I played against one of the, what are they called? Average Joes. That's what they are. Great group of guys, great team. And he taught me a lot because I didn't know much when it came to some of the things in the game. And I got some things wrong. Like, I shot sustained hit Blastmasters out of a Rhino during the Open. And he was like, hey, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, shit, I can't? Oh, I can't do that? And, like, he showed me where it was. And I went, oh, snap, I am so sorry. Let me take that back. And what I said is, okay, well, since I messed that up, I'm just going to say I'm ineligible to shoot with those weapons because I made a mistake. Well, okay, let's take the damage that happened off of it, and let's just say they never shot and just say they can't shoot, right? I'm going to make that the restriction on me making that mistake and punish myself for making a mistake, right? That's how it should work, right? If you make a mistake in the game, take back what you did. Like you said, apologize. Hey, I'm sorry. I messed up this rule, right? Or even if somebody comes to you and is like, hey, I think you messed up this rule, right? That's the way, the easiest and best way to handle that, right, is to then just look at it and go, okay, well, let's figure this out. Let's figure out what happened then. That should have been that like I had one of my early games of 11th, we figured out something that didn't work, right? Where they were charging and they landed on a dense terrain piece, and we did the fight anyway because we just weren't sure. It was a little bit later at night when we were playing, but it wasn't something where I went, oh, this gentleman cheated, right? I went, oh, okay, we made a mistake that we just didn't understand, and that ended up being the thing, right? Firing deck is a fully rule. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's a really weird rule. It's a really strange rule because they're like, well, the guns are being shot from the transport, not the thing in there. Because there's also rules where it's like, well, if you would gain sustained hits from shooting, you wouldn't get it in Overwatch. But if your ability gives it to the weapons as if it's like you adding it to the profile, then you get it, but it doesn't work in firing. Like, that's the whole super complicated point of this, where it's like, yeah, this is why you can't ignore the errata or say, like, I'm going to do something anyways. Because then you have things like firing deck or fights first, right? How long did it take us to finally figure out fights first? You know, unless you were going and checking with the actual community who was playing, if you weren't going and playing tournaments or watching tournament videos, right? Because you're specifically looking at this rule and going, there's nothing in here that tells me what happens when this happens. And most of the time people will go, oh, well, that's probably not very common. When I'm sitting here going, I play Emperor's Children and my buddy plays the Lion. This happens almost every single game, and we don't have an answer for it, right? Where there's these blatant gaps in the rule where it makes it easy to make a mistake, right? I had a GW manager tell me that the way that Fights First worked in 10th edition was that if you charge the Fights First unit with Fights First and Haley into another Fights First unit, that the unit that charged would gain a bonus over that unit. And so I played it that way for a very long time, and even argued with people and let them know. It was like, I literally asked a GW manager what the ruling was, and that is what he told me, right? To the point where even the GW managers don't always get the rule works. So that's how it works in 11th edition. So that's how it works now. How it used to work in 10th edition is that it was always a defensive ability, right? Anytime Lucius got charged, he would be able to fight first. But now it's the opposite way. It's how it should have worked, right? Where if the Lion charges Lucius, Lucius doesn't get to fight first. Lucius would have to wait for the Lion to go first. But that's also now also on all charges too, because it was the weird thing of you would charge and then you would gain fights first. And then you're like, well, then how does this work? Now every single unit has fights first in this fight. So who would get to fights first? But in 10th edition, it was the defensive player would get to fight first. That was why they were so. That's why Demonettes were 90 points for how they were. Yeah. Oh, no. It's totally understandable because not everybody has it. I had to understand fights first because my army is mostly, like, that was our whole thing. Fulgrim and Lucius were our fight first units. And so I had to figure out how that worked, because fights first was a very swingy thing with Fulgrim where you're like, I'm going to just do -1 to hit always, right? So, yeah, no, totally understandable. Fights first is insanely overcomplicated to the point where now it's less complicated, but it's still complicated. Like, I figured out how fights first works because it's really weird. But even then, like, there's still, like, technically how ordering works is a little strange because all your pylons and all your consolidates are now different orders, or a different order of how you do it. But yeah, so like that's the big reason why I get so upset and so frustrated when these rules aren't perfectly updated, which I don't need them to be perfect. I just need them to be consistently updating them when they come out with a new edition. If there's things that are broken, right? Because you have things like this where we're sitting over here going, I don't play that way because that doesn't feel narrative or intentional. And then you have GW looking at us and going, why can't you guys figure this out for us? I'm like, I'm not the $1 billion. I'm not the billion-dollar company here. Let's also remind ourselves, too, that the way that they've handled this release of 11th edition is not how any billion-dollar company should handle the release of a game. Like, the first update came out 2 weeks before, and it was only technically for Tacoma, but they said, oh, everybody else can use it if they want to, right? It was just bad content. It's just bad, right? It's just the thing of where it was like, oh, if these were new rules, that would make sense. But they're not new rules. They were the old rules that we all said probably are just carrying over. So let's just keep them. And they confirmed that those rules were carrying over. Like that's again core parts of the game. Like that would be like, I've been more excited about the K-47 Invasion America than 11th. Those Shadow Warriors sound cool. You just wanted me to talk about more K-47. I do love K-47. I do think it's cool. I don't know the rules, but I think the models are sick. But like, yeah, like that's the biggest thing about a lot of this is that now the hype train of 11th is already dying, and it's not good that it's already dying, right? Like the hype of 40K is always going to be there because the game is super cool, the community is awesome, painting the models is fun. But the want to jump into this new edition has been lessened a lot because right now they're just very much putting the brakes on and being like, whoa, guys, slow down. We don't want to tell you all this stuff yet. And you're like, but this is stuff that should have been in the core rules in day one. These are day one erratas. These are day two erratas. These are day three erratas, not a month out erratas. And like that to me is the biggest problem. They know that they can do things super fast and change. I mean, they obviously nerfed Yarrick on the day that he was coming out. So you're telling me you can't release a day one, day two errata that has just the actual like core rules that actually like again, the fact that generating command points, modifying a CP, one normal move, stratagems can be used more than once per phase a turn. Like they nerf guard stuff before it comes out, but then they told us that we have to wait a month to know that you can only generate one CP per battle round. Like, you know, that's crazy. That's insane. That's a stupid, silly, not like that's not new rules. The way that they're acting is like, oh, you guys are just so excited for your new rules. And we're like, we want the rules that are part of the game that we're already normally playing. Like, you gotta be kidding me. The fact that we don't understand what the healing ability does fully is not good. Like I had my dude who was playing Thousand Suns at the first part of the game look at me and go, so how does healing work? And I'm like, oh, we're screwed. Oh, we're screwed. We don't know how certain abilities work in the game's out, right? That would be like if Destiny came out and the purple void element that they showed off was like, hey, it's not in the game yet. It's just not in there. You can see it. Other enemies are using it. You should have had access to it day one, but you don't. Because we're not going to do it. We're not going to put the effort in to code it in there, right? And this one's even easier because coding is hard. I've coded. It sucks. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, it sucks. It's hard. It's something that is difficult to me in my brain. This is literally writing a paragraph that describes what the game, how the rules should work in the game. And in all honesty, this entire first page is a copy and paste from 10th edition. This entire document for up until healing and revives is a literal copy and paste from 10th edition. That's egregious. That is egregious. These are all copy paste. This is insane. All of these getting removed frame. Why did you put it in there in the first place? right? Like, this is now new rules. Red Terror and Fulgrim getting mobile. Any FAQs, right? Like, it's like you look at this and you're like, guys, what are we doing? Right? Like, what are we doing? This is not new rules. These are rules that we all agree upon already as a community. And then they're not giving them to us specifically because they don't want to look at these rules or work on them. It's goofy. It's dumb. It's silly. It's just a waste of our time. And as somebody, you know, I'm not a doomer, but like, we're all getting older, you know? Time keeps moving forward. And I'm not really a big fan of wasting time, right? Like I have mental health stuff that I have in myself that even I don't get happy with myself when I need to take care of myself sometimes because I don't really like wasting time on stuff. I really don't. I don't like to waste time when I don't have very much. You know, we don't have all that much time on the planet, and I want to enjoy this game as long as I physically can. But it feels like the game, like you said, yes, it's part of why you haven't played much of 11. The game's not fully out yet. And it feels like a very disappointing and very lame money grab for them to put it out this early, especially since we've had these core rules for a month before they dropped, and they had a month before the box dropped to make sure all this stuff worked. Even if you don't have it in print, I don't care. I really don't even care. Like, I'll buy the codex even if I know that the book is going to be outdated in a month. I don't care. What I do care about is them getting those things in the freaking game and not wasting time and not sitting around and going, yeah, we wrote this document. It's going to be active on this thing for this tournament. And then maybe we'll confirm it fully on the 22nd. We'll do that maybe. Okay. To me, in my mind, now you're taking my money and you're running with it because I've put money into this game now, and you're telling me that I'm not going to get that part of the game until a month later, even though I put the money out. I'm sure they're going to announce another price hike, whether that's 4 to 6%. I don't know, but I'm sure they're going to announce another price increase. Like, and then they're going to keep increasing the prices on this and not give us any more information, nothing more to say about when this stuff is coming, even to the point where it's like the FAQ. I mean, look at the literal Q&A that they did that they said was about 11th edition, and they refused to answer any questions. Like, it's just kind of scummy. It puts a bad taste in your mouth. Like, the game's not bad, but it's kind of what we talked about on the last stream. And I don't really want to keep making these streams all about me talking smack about the FAQs and things like this. But like, at a certain point, this needs to be widely discussed. That right now, that these rules need to be all set up so that we don't have situations where people are feeling like they're getting cheated out of playing the game the right way because somebody is in the know and somebody's not, or you have somebody who's been playing for a while claiming that they have something that they don't, you know, and saying, oh, well, I have this is proof, right? When somebody who has played the game can look at them and go, no, that's not how that works. Don't try and pull one on over new players because you just want to do that. Like, in all honesty, like, that's why they know they need to do these FAQs. They need to do them on time. Like, they know why they do these things. They know the whole point of this. And we've gone a little bit over the time that I said I was going to on this rant because I'm upset about it. Because like I went and played this. I got 1 out of 3 games, you know. Bolt action battle report when whenever I get the core rules for bolt action, and if nobody cares if all of my bolt action guys are pink. Are pink and are giant 7-foot tall mutants for bolt action. No, it's like, that's the thing is that's what I mean. It's like I I have my background in journalism, and like, despite the negative talk that I have for 40K right now, 11th edition is my favorite version of the game. I am enjoying the rules. The rules feel fun. It doesn't feel like there's as many gotchas as there used to be. Everything feels a little bit better. And we're starting to see that like some of the core cool things are starting to go across the armies in a way that's cool, like healing. I think a lot of units are going to get healing in this edition, and I think that's going to make the game even better. Hell yeah. That would be super fun. Who's calling me? We're going to put that on the voicemail because we're busy right now. So like, I don't want the negative talk of it to say like Nick doesn't like 40K. I love 40K. This is my special interest, right? And so with this specifically, the reason I bring it up is not because I do want to play some bolt action with you. I do think it'd be really fun, and I'm super down to try other game modes because this isn't just a 40K channel, even though that's what I'm most knowledgeable about. It's wargaming in general, if we want to, right? I don't want to be limited to just 40K. So I would always be down to do that. But the reason why I bring it up is because we're all passionate about the game, right? This game didn't survive for 40 years because nobody gave a crap, right? Like, you have me who left their job to go and do this full time, to work on this full time, right? I'm angry because I care. Exactly. And that is the most important part about this community and the passion behind it is that if we keep pushing this passion, they cannot break the game at a certain point. Because either we'll just go and make our own FAQs and make our own erratas, and you'll have the GW side of it, and you'll have the independent side of tournaments. And I'll be real, the tournament independent side will be better because we'll fix stuff that is better, right? And we'll make more fun rules and more things balanced and bring in other stuff and go, screw you, GW. Send us a cease and desist. You can't stop a gathering of 30 people from playing this game and calling it a tournament. You can't stop us from doing that and fixing the game and playing it ourselves. You can't do that. You can't stop it. Oh, well, they're just not playing officially. Yeah, we're just not playing officially, but our rules are better. So come play with us. You know, I mean, the only reason why GW has all of these tournament things and why they're making this much money is because independents started them. And then GW said, okay, we'll do them too. Okay, we'll do them too. You know? So like, yes, that is something that was going on in Old World is that people are basically going, yeah, like people are going, I mean, that was what happened with Heresy. I actually don't really know exactly what's going on with Old World and Renegade rules. I'm gonna Google that so we can find out. But that's what they did for Heresy. They said, oh, don't buy the, like everybody went out and bought the oh, that is cool. I'm looking up the legacy stuff. But like that's what they did with Heresy is everybody went, oh, we're gonna go play 2.0. Screw 3.0. We're not playing it. And they stopped selling the core rulebook for third. And they were then third-party studios were selling the core rulebook for second edition and selling out on Heresy because everybody went, screw you guys, right? It's the same thing with Wizards in the Coast and Hasbro and D&D 4th edition, right? Everybody saw 4th edition, said, I'm not playing that. We're going to go play 3rd edition, to the point where they had to speed up on 5th edition because they said, oh, crap, nobody's playing this. We have to update this. We have to fix this because nobody's playing it. Because people refuse to play it, right? Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, like this absolutely is for sure making them push forward with Old World. This is definitely pushing forward Old World because like there's no way that doesn't get GW off their butt. Because in all honesty, that's how they've lost characters and things before, is that the community would make the reason why you can't use Etsy bot stuff is that GW lost a lawsuit where they had all these named characters that they added into the game, but they didn't make models for. And then a third party studio started making models and GW started allowing them in the tournaments. But then when they wanted that person to stop selling those models, they took them to court, and the court said, no, you don't sell that model. You never sold that model. That's technically their design because you didn't design a model for it. So technically that's their character now because they've designed a character to go with that name. So technically, intellectual property wise, they got you sort of, which I don't know if I completely agree, but I don't know exactly what the law was on that one. So I'd have to go back and really look at the case to understand it and to really give a good legal opinion about it. I'm also not a lawyer, so you probably shouldn't take any legal opinions officially from me. But like that was something in which that like it negatively affected them because of their own laziness to not make these characters a mini. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Where I'm like, yeah, well, why weren't you making your own freaking mini for this character? Oh, well, that's kind of hard. Yeah, well, you're $1 billion company at this point now, right? Even back in 2007, $1 million company, right? And they're still over going, we can't do it. No, you don't want to do it because you're being lazy. It's the same reason why you're dropping this in an FAQ a month after it is because what you should have done, you should have copy and pasted all this stuff and you should have put it on the freaking core rule book. But the problem is that you probably went, oh, well, we don't want to play it that way sometimes, or I don't want to do all the editing and stuff for it, or, oh, well, blah, 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 we don't want to keep updating the game. Who knows? But right now, they just look bad and they look lazy. And that's the thing that sucks. It's because the rest of us are just going to figure it out and we're going to play it and we're going to enjoy it. But they just don't look like they care. And then you go, yeah, because we care, we get angry. We go, we want to play this. We want to play this thing. But if you won't let us do that, okay, I guess enjoy not making as much money when we go and 3D print every other model that we can get. I mean, I'm sure there's already a 3D scan of the new NASDAQ or the NASDAQ. That's his new name now. His name is NASDAQ. NASDAQ. Yeah, it's the NASDAQ, right? This is where we trade stocks. It's actually in these little that he's got, right? But again, the reason why we get angry is because we care. We sink time into this game. We sink money. We sink energy. We sink passion, right? And when you take advantage of that as a company, yeah, we're gonna get mad, right? Like I'm gonna bring something up that I brought up at the tournament, and the minute I thought about this, I went, oh man, I'm so right. Why was the new Connor Camarius or whatever Ultraman character? Why wasn't that just Pedro Cantor? Like, why was that not just Pedro Cantor? The model we've been waiting on for the Crimson Fist, who are also kind of taking the poster boy spot in certain places, but also the one that has had the most rumors of them being. He's on that NASDAQ till those boys wah. See, he's making those boys wah before they even have to wah. He could make you wah before you wah. That is crazy that the wah is going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of wahs. I'm not excited for that, but it'll be fun. But like, exactly, like why was it Pedro Cantor? Where it's like everybody wants Pedro Cantor, even if you don't play Crimson Fist, because he's cool and he's sick. But instead, you're like, we didn't think about this. And you're like, yeah, you didn't think about this, you bunch of freaking idiots. Like, come on. Next up, I'm just gonna make Gilliman into Pedro Cantor, okay? All right. If I can't have my Pedro Cantor, then I'll make discount Pedro Cantor and he'll be taller. He'll be on a little 40 millimeter with one leg on the base. But like, that's the kind of stuff that I mean, where it's like, even the community is coming up with better ideas than you guys are, or coming up with definitions of how these rules should work that doesn't make it broken because half of y'all are sitting there going, yeah, whatever. Right? They'll probably have something that completely fixes all of this. Like they'll probably, like, I'm sure that when the 20-second drops, they'll probably keep adding stuff into that FAQ and it'd probably be massive. Hopefully. But if it's not, then what do you want us to do? Like I enjoy these data sheets. I think they're cool, but now you've got orcs who are already doing extremely well this game. And now they're going to get their codex and they're going to be the most broken things simply because of them getting their codex first. Right? Like I had You got to do Calgor. Yeah, actually, you're right. That is way better. Double fist. The upgrade to Pedro Cantor is he just gets 2 power fists instead of the 1 he had. I actually really like that idea much better. That's a way better idea than Gilliman. Way better. I like that a lot. But yeah, like it's the thing of again, like the reason this game is doing as well as it is because of the fact that we care, right? And then when you get the guys like you, right, Sated, who's going on the Discord and posting updates and hobby stuff and keeping those things alive when some of us are just busy and can't do it, you know, like that you as a person are keeping this hobby alive. And that's an important part of this, right? It's an important part is the people who show up, even if it doesn't always benefit them all the time, even if it doesn't make them money, right? Is the people who show up with passion. I mean, most of these tournaments didn't start with people who were paid tournament people, right? I mean, you know how long those part-time judges at the Dallas Opens fought to get paid? I mean, one of my good buddies who runs the narratives for GW, he gets a hotel and a plane ticket, and that's what he gets paid to go out there and do that, right? Like, a lot of guys sacrifice a lot to do this full time. I mean, I sacrificed my income to do this full time and to help this out. Like, now, do I get some massive benefits from that? Absolutely. I'm not trying to say poor me, but when you have us who are sitting there going, all right, you know, you're also the biggest advocate for non-GW games, but you're also feeling that after the beginning of 11th edition. And that's not an old sentiment of yours, right? Like you are an advocate for both, but that's a normal hobbyist. But you are also the same person who posts in the Discord every other day being like, hey, I made all these cultists, even when people don't respond, right? And like, it's gentlemen like that, gentlemen, ladies, whoever's, right, who do that, who keep this hobby alive, right? Like, one of the big reasons why news is so well like spread in this hobby is from Tactical, Taurus, and Valrak. As much as I dislike some of the things that Valrak puts out because it's sometimes a little bit too much of reaching onto straws, right? I still appreciate the fact that he is there. Same with Auspex, almost every single day making these videos. And as somebody who has started making these videos and doing that, it's not easy to make all of these things work that way, right? Like, this is not an easy career choice. Also, I just noticed that NASDAQ has a septum piercing. So guess what? This is my self-insert orc now because I also have a septum piercing. But like, my point is that this is like the community really has done a lot and really not asked for much in return. And it feels like sometimes GW acts like we've asked for too much sometimes. And I'm also sitting over here going like, guys, you don't do enough to get all uppity with us about what we're wanting. Like, the fact that they keep messing with world leaders and not giving them red butchers or butcher surgeons, but putting them in books and making pictures of them, to me is kind of getting annoying to the point where it's kind of funny, but it's also a little bit like, guys, at a certain point, these are the guys who make you money and put food on your table. So why are we being so snarky with our customers? Because even like when I worked at a coffee shop, like some of the snarkiness that like GW does, if I had done any of that, oh, it would have been a talking to. Because it's like, well, why are you trying to get all rude to some of the guys who make you the money? Right? Like, it's silly, it's goofy, it makes no sense. Especially when it's like, just I don't know. I think the problem is that it's not about 11th edition of the game. It's just that GW needs to get off their butt and do something. And they can come in here and they can tell me I'm being a little bit too harsh. Because you know what? If I'm being too harsh, then maybe I did the right thing. Because if they're getting their feelings hurt, it means I've hit the right nerve. So who knows? But personally, I am just like, if you're going to give us data sheets like this, give us the updates because I'm excited for this. This is fun. This is cool. He's good in both shooting and combat, brings incredibly useful tools for the game. I don't want things to be lame. I want Fulgrim to be 400 points and his poison goes off on it too. I want Dante to literally be able to kill almost anything. Like, I want the things and the abilities to be crazy, to be fun, and to be something where, like, yes, it's survival, but also if I'm bringing a 300-point model, then that 300-point model should rip, right? Like, that thing should be crazy and a problem. Like the Defiler at 300 points, I was a worrier about it at first, but even I'm like, now 300 points, it's still doing work. It's still doing pretty decent work for what it does, right? Well, I look at Fulgrim and I go, for 350 points, you don't do the work you need to do, right? And that to me is where I feel like the game needs to go, where it's like, make the things that are tough and powerful. Make Fulgrim a problem on the board. Oh, he may be a little bit too overpowered. Okay, well, if you're going to make hidden overpowered, make the things that shoot it overpowered, right? Like that's the thing is like, I'm a big fan of hyper lethal stuff because I like it when abilities are fun to play, right? When an ability works and is fun. But I also like it when the rules in itself help keep you out of that craziness of going too much. The Red Butchers have models. It's just Forge World 30K ones. Yeah, and they basically dismiss Forge World every single time that they talk about it. And it's the problem of those Forge World is kind of what brought 40K back into the mainstream again once it was dying. And it's the thing of, well, they have models. It's like, yeah, but, that would be the same thing as if we were like, yeah, you could have Noise Marines, right? It's exactly like they can't commit to everything being hyper lethal or not. Because that's the problem is then you get like Ultramarines who are insanely hyper lethal, right? Where you're like, oh, you guys just forgot because you were so worried about people not playing your Space Marines that you gave them +1 to wound and made them broken, Or even like Mordaka when it first came out, where you're like, are you sure you thought about how this rule should work? To the point where it's like, how long did it last? Like maybe a month before they nerfed it into the dirt because they were like, yeah, it's way too much. Because that's also the problem. If they can't commit to everything being hyper lethal, they only commit to a few things being really good. It's the frustrating thing because I can see the business model about how they're doing this power creep, which is they want you to buy the box of the week, right? They want you to buy the box of the month. Yeah, like it's the thing where it's like you can have things be pinned and useless, right? I don't mind the lethality of it, but for me, it's like the balance of what things are hyper lethal and which things aren't is one where it's like, yeah, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? Like you look at the comparison between Fulgrim's data sheet and Lucius's data sheet, and you're like, why is Lucius so much better in every single thing that he does? He's got Lone Op, he's got a Feel No Pain 5-up. He's a T5 model, which is a good boost for a normal Marine. He's got 6 wounds. He rerolls all of his hits and wounds if he goes into a character, a monster, or a walker. And then he can attach to Flawless Blades and get a good critical 3-up while being -3 AP and 3 damage. While Fulgrim's sitting over here and you can give him -1 to hit, -1 to hit, fights first, or a aura where nothing can move if they fail a battle shock test, which is more applicable now. And then he has a poison that is always on, but you have to roll a 4-up in every command phase, which I've rolled it. And in all honesty, it worked twice this entire tournament. Even though I tagged 6 units, 7 units, it only worked twice the entire time. And when it did, it only did 1 or 2 mortal wounds because it's only D3 mortal wounds on a 4-up. And you look at he doesn't have a built-in Feel No Pain. He doesn't have built-in Lone Op. He's on a massive base. And you look into the different things, right? And specifically, it's like, well, what's the point difference on that? And you're like, well, is it strength 15? Is it T11? Is that the big point difference? And the problem is they're not consistent on why they increase points. They just do it if it gets played a lot. And to me, that's not a great way of balancing. But, you know, I don't run the business. But that's my own personal take on it. And we've gone a little bit over when I plan to. And I've got to work on some editing videos so I can get y'all that Flawless Blade video. So I apologize. That one is late. In all honesty, I thought I would have some time on Sunday to get it done. And in all honesty, I was just so wiped from the tournament that I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait until Monday so that I can get it done, get it out for you guys in a way where it's gonna look right, be right, and not just, hey, here's some garbage that Nick threw out, right? So I'm excited to get that thing out for you guys. Thank you guys for being patient with me on that. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna be working on that today so I can get that out for you. Thank you guys for hanging out for the 3 hours that we did. I really always enjoy talking with you guys about this. Thank you for going on this rant with me about all the craziness going on with 11th edition and cover. No matter what, we'll get it figured out. Hopefully, it is what it is. But just remember, it's always about the community. It's about the game, having fun with your fellow person. So take your time. Don't worry about it. Let me worry about this since I'm the one who's going to look at this every day and get anxiety over it. So let me get the anxiety and y'all just have fun. Okay. If there's anything I can do to help make rules better or something, or even give you guys some ways to play that are more fun and a little bit more casual and more narrative that are more fun, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Discord. I'm always willing to help and try and make games more fun. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining. We will see you guys on Friday for talking about some old world and some more lists that I've got cooked up, because I cooked up about 5 lists this weekend after the tournament that are all goofy, silly, and fun. So I'll get those all set up throughout the week. We'll talk about some of them on Friday, and then we will go over some other stuff on Friday as well for the wrap of the week stream. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I will see you guys on Friday.